Alrighty, here we are. Looks like I see sound bars. I'm gonna move my mic a little
We're
bit
just gonna
closer
be
to me.
two dead men by the end of the stream. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, living on borrowed time. Hey, Brennan G made it live this evening. How you doing, buddy? Welcome, welcome.
Hello. I just remembered another thing I lost.
North End Trooper, where the beer and ice cream at? Actually, uh, no ice cream and no beer, but I do have.
You need to turn those into emotes, by the way.
What's that?
Space beer and space ice cream.
Oh yeah, yeah. Gotta hit the sack soon. Oh, you work in the AM. Oh yeah, because you have your really early start time. I have what is the equivalent of like a healthier 7 and 7, but it's bourbon instead of um, Seagram's in my mug. So yeah, no ice cream tonight. But yeah, welcome back. Good to see everybody this evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for joining us live if you're here live, and then if you are watching this later on YouTube. Oh gosh.
Yep.
Brennan G with a sub first 5 months. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Healthier? No. The bourbon isn't healthier. Instead of 7 Up with all the sugar, it's these lime fizzy waters with a little bit of stevia. So I mean,
So what you're saying is drink more bourbon, less soda.
yes, yeah, bourbon and bourbon is healthier, definitely. Bourbon lubricates my joints and my blood vessels, keeps the plaques from forming clots and stuff. I'm
Drink more
convinced
bourbon,
it's true.
kids.
Yeah, it's science. Maker's Mark, please uh,
Sponsor the stream.
sponsor the stream.
I'll be drinking gin. Good man, good man. I also have my gin next to me.
Cheers, yes, man. Naz is the gin man. You know,
I
wasn't
drank
James
gin,
Bond
but that's been it.
a gin guy? Right?
No,
No.
no.
Oh no, he was martinis, right?
Yes. A martini that he had specifically diluted because apparently his kidneys were dying.
Oh, ouch.
I don't know if that's absolutely canon, but because of how he ordered it, it did dilute and ruin basically the alcohol content of it. So it was a much less alcoholic drink. How he had it prepared, the shaken and not stirred.
Huh. You learn something new every day. And hopefully you're going to learn something else new this evening on this episode of the Pathfinders
Well,
podcast.
if we're doing our jobs right, hopefully not.
Yeah,
If they're learning something new, it means they're not paying attention to what we told them to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys already know everything we're about to talk about, and you're just here because you're crazy like us.
Yes, hopefully everybody did the reading assignment beforehand. Yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to create a syllabus and a lesson plan and watch the views just absolutely tank.
And like, there'll be some people who watch it. There'll be some people who absolutely watch it. You should have like, I don't know how you give channel points away. I don't know if there's a way to give channel points away. But you should have like points that you give out, like 500 points per person who gets done all the reading assignments. So who's gone through the ISC, SCLs, monthly reports, and roadmap updates, and when we had the podcast, like, did you do the homework? And people who did, we give them points.
That would actually be a really fun thing to do on stream on the podcast. Like, if we pick a topic, for like a spectrum pulse or a scanner anomaly, have like a handful of trivia questions related to it that you go through, and before you start talking about this next bit, ask a question about it and be like, okay, who knows about this or who's read up
That's
prior
great.
to the show.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah.
What homework? I'll just make up for it on the exams. Yeah, story of my life.
Oh no.
Well,
wait. What did I break this? Okay, there it is.
Welcome to episode 73 of the Pathfinders podcast. I am Tree0311, here with my partner in crime,
Dead Men Walking. I mean Nazeris.
Nazeris, and we are the Pathfinders, and we are charting the way through all the nebulous information surrounding Star Citizen, Squadron 42, and their development. So before we launch into the podcast, Krios with the follow. Thanks so much for joining us.
Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Great, Curtis.
Part of the crew,
Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with us this evening. Before we launch into the start of the show, which will be the Roadmap Roundup, Naz, what you been up to this week?
What have I been up to? It's been a really weird week.
Besides making all your saved data implode.
I fixed my VR.
There's the silver lining.
I am the meme, the Thanos "what did it cost" meme. I got my VR. What did it cost? So, for those short story, my VR, the Reverb G2 wasn't being recognized by the Windows mixed reality software anymore. I went through basically 3 days of trying to figure it out. And the last test I haven't tried was resetting Windows. And so I opened the program to reset Windows, and it's like, hey, do you want to keep your files? I'm like, absolutely. That means I don't have to go and like back up a whole bunch of stuff and spend the next day or so backing up files. It didn't save files, and so the last 2 years of Space Engineers content, like stuff I built in Space Engineers or blueprints that I didn't have saved on the workshop or something, a whole bunch, like wherever programs were saved, Windows has no idea where they are, so they're not launching properly. What else? Oh, all of my OBS scenes and things are gone, so I had to rebuild all my scenes in OBS, which is so much fun. And I was just today trying to clear out the OneDrive because we were trying to sync up the file from OneDrive, and it decided to forget that it had all of my OneNote things in it. So all of the OneNotes for the podcast are now in this weird transient state that doesn't exist, or ephemeral state that doesn't exist currently. So that's all fun.
Schrodinger's podcast notes for sure.
Yeah. So it's a bit rough. Other than that, I've been streaming a bunch. When did I do the noon stream? I started a stream at like 2 on Friday, I think it was, in the afternoon. And in that stream, I created an entirely new streaming words schedule. And I'm actually going to be streaming 6 different times over the next few weeks.
6.
Google, why won't you freaking... Okay. Because it's already open and it's just not telling me because it's over the cat there. I'm just dumb. It's fine. Okay, so I'm going. It's like it's here. What do you mean? It's here. I'm showing you. It's already open. Where is Mr.
The files are in the machine.
Files are in the machine. Files are in all the files. Hack the files. No, don't open translate. That's not what I wanted. Oh yeah, and my mouse is dying. Let's see. Apparently it doesn't like to live either. So I'm going to be streaming Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays now. At 1 to 5 and 7 to 11. So 2 different streams each of those 3 days. I feel like there was another
That's a
day.
lot.
And
I wish I could stream that much.
I feel like there was supposed to be Wednesday, but so far, yeah. And then I have scheduled for lots of video work, so I can get back on videos. I actually tried to record some video today, but we had the whole meltdown with OneNote. So I spent the time I would have been trying to record some B-roll for the ARGO ATLS thing, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yeah, lots of
our Stompy boy.
Yep.
That thing is best in show.
Perfect.
I'm calling it next year. Best in show.
Yep.
Almost the only people who don't like it are weirdly salty about it. I don't get it at all. It makes no sense to me. I'm Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull it up right now. I'm gonna pull up the tweet that I did. Because if you haven't seen it and you
So you
haven't, I
bought a new
posted in
VR
my
and-
Discord, and I posted it in Paul's Discord, and I also posted on the one of the Star Citizen Facebook groups. So
Is this the
let's
cut
see.
together one?
What's up?
Are you talking about the cut together one?
Yeah.
BTS Terrapin. What are you stupid Terrapin?
Oh,
Terrapin died way
likely
too early.
harasser. Hold on there. Yep.
It doesn't come through. It just tells you.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
gonna ban.
no, I didn't buy a new VR or PC. It's my old VR and my old PC, or just current, not old technically. They just decided to stop liking each other. To be fair, I hadn't touched the VR for the last like almost 6 months or so, like 4 to 6 months. And I imagine updates were had on both of them. So.
Okay, here I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna switch screens, and I'm gonna show you what I found regarding our friend the Stompy Boy, Atlas, and then we'll launch into the roadmap roundup and the rest of the show. All right, so switching screens now. So this was the post I put on Twitter, and I'll read it to you guys. I said, and then I'll pull up the images so you can see those, and we'll talk about it. So just so y'all remember, the new Atlas was always planned and may actually be the cutter for the Reclaimer. Shock and awe. The last image is from a wall in Orison. So the first image, and I have the links to each of these com links in the post. And tell you what,
I don't see the
Copy
rover
link.
anywhere around there.
And copy link address.
You missed my joke.
What? Rover?
You missed my joke. Yeah. You said
What
you had
joke?
links.
Oh, haha. Put them. So this is a really screenshot from a really old post talking about the sort of like their stratifications and how they differentiate between different types of suits that we'll be able to wear. And who knows whether we'll like get this much stratification. To me, it seems like a lot, but like we do have a lot of these already. So down here at the bottom, class 9, this is essentially a design document. Full-blown mech suit, somewhere between a spacesuit and the power loader from Alien. These repair the outsides of large ships, move heavy objects and heavy objects in hangars, etc. Well, what did we just get? Power loader looking thing from Alien that moves heavy objects in a hangar. So, ostensibly, we're gonna get one that can be used to repair the outsides of ships. But what else? What's the inverse of repair? Salvage, and vice versa. So, next.
I also think that there's going to be several size tiers of mech.
Oh yeah, I would be
because
surprised.
the Titan suit is on record holding a size 1 ship component, and the tractor beam on the Atlas is more of a 0.5 scale ship weapon.
Yeah,
It's not quite the power of a size 1 ship tractor beam, but it's definitely much better than a industrial handheld. So it's more of like a 0.5 ship tractor beam.
it's hard to know because it's not like they haven't told us like where the handhelds fall in like number wise. Because ships, there's a 1, a 2, and a 3, and they say eventually there might be a 4. And we don't have size 0 weapons, but we have size 0 components, right? Yeah.
Oh, because
Yeah,
that's a vehicle tier. It's dropped.
Yeah, vehicle. So
Which is funny because we don't have vehicle weapons. They use ship weapons. They use size 1s.
yeah, and
I wonder if they'll. Okay.
It's kind of like how the size 3 gun on the Storm It's a size 3, but it's a bespoke size 3 that's more powerful than other size 3s, and just like the size 5 on the Nova. Well, this is a size 1 tractor beam, but it has a bespoke behavior and a bespoke performance in terms of like range and lifting capacity, which I totally expect to get nerfed because it is really strong. It is really strong.
I hope
for
it gets nerfed.
an item.
It's like it is far more capable than it needs to be, and I don't want like nerfed on its like not maneuverability, but being able to pick up large things and move them around. But it can chuck stuff like way farther than it needs to, and it will get you in trouble more likely than not.
Yeah.
Hello, Shimpasta.
Hey, Shimpasta07, inner hype. The idea of having some kind of repair tool. Oh yeah, thumbs up. Yep. Yeah, it's what it can lift. It can lift a size or a 32 SCU container, which is supposed to be size 2 tractor beam vehicle tractor beams and up. So I hope it loses that ability and can do like 24s on down. Just because it's the size of a 32 SCU container compared to this thing. It's not that big. It's like 10 feet tall, and it has a little size 0
don't want
power
to pick
plant.
up 32s?
Nope. I want 32 SCU containers to be almost exclusive to external cargo loading.
That actually makes sense. I would be on the don't like it side of like that kind of camp. It makes sense, but I wouldn't like it.
Yeah,
I would agree with it. I still wouldn't like it.
Yeah, but I think 32 SCU needs to be sort of a niche thing that is station to station and not really within the hangar unless you have a very specific vehicle to do so. The raft and like the whole B. I think the whole B should have a size 2 or size 2 tractor beams.
What's the whole B's?
It doesn't. It was never stated to, but I imagine it will. Just because of the size and the amount of SCU it has. So we'll see. But so this screenshot is from the original comlink for the Reclaimer. And they say additionally it includes a manned cutter, and when we all saw cutter, we thought like cutter, like a cutter is a type of sailing ship, a little sort of runabout.
I didn't read that way at all.
Yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of people did, probably because InfoRunner said it. Which may be deployed for EVA recovery operations. And so that's the rub, is they say EVA recovery operations in reference to the cutter being deployed. And then they follow it up with description of what they mean by that. We intend the game's salvage mechanic to include a search and recovery function in which players will exit their spacecraft in suits and maneuvering units to explore wreckage. So they say manned cutter, and they call it a pocket spacecraft, but spacecraft doesn't mean spaceship. They didn't say pocket spaceship, they said pocket spacecraft in the same context as maneuvering units and this EVA recovery gameplay. Pocket spacecraft like the cutter will carry tools and supplies and transport recovered artifacts back aboard ship. Well,
yeah, that also, like, carry is not how you'd say has a size 1 mount.
Yeah, and so everybody get ready. The verbiage is nebulous, but I think in the context of all this being in the same paragraph, following on full-blown mech suits, repairing the outsides of large ships, repairs the inverse of salvage, and they're talking about this for salvage. And then we have this image. This is on a wall in Orson, I forget where exactly. Boy, does that look a whole lot like the Atlas, but with an EVA pack.
Specifically, is
the arms,
like
the legs, the
1-for-1.
feet. It just looks like an Atlas that has an EVA rig on the top of it. And
so what I think happened with the Atlas is I think this has been done for Squadron for a while, like a long while. Like I have to go look at the fly through where you saw the Cygnus drones in the hangar. I bet it's there too. Um, because there's
Oh,
like
that's a
they
good
said
idea.
nothing about it, like just nothing, and they're like, oh yeah, so Evo can spawn it now. Just like it's got to be a squadron thing. Like they've had to need this and built it for like the squadron yards and have it done already. Like because it has a bespoke feature, because it's new vehicle. Like obviously we've known they're always making vehicles we don't know about, but this was a little too under wraps.
Oh yeah, yeah. The amount of like we haven't heard about the last time they talked about the Titan suit, and this is not a Titan suit. The Titan suit
Yeah, this is not a
is
Titan.
made by Virgil, so
Mm-hmm.
different manufacturer entirely. And it's the Titan suit is a combat suit.
And the Cygnus is
That
Gray
was
Cat, so it might not be in that hangar.
yeah, and so the Titan suit is a combat one that is derived from essentially what the Atlas is. Like the industrial versions, like the Atlas, came first. The Titan suit came later. But they could easily make it so that all these mechs use the same animation set and are but applied to a similar but different. They'll move the same way, but aesthetically they'll be different. They won't have like 6 legs versus two, but they if you've seen the Titan images, and the Titan images do look different than the Atlas, but not grossly
They could
different.
almost definitely use the animation overlay system to just have a mech animation like
Yep.
kit, and then just heavier, so arrow this way, or it's got this much weight or this much maneuverability in its legs, arms, etc. Just weight the thing that way
Yeah.
instead of having to write
Yeah. All they have
all
to do
new
is tweak
animations
some
for every mech.
values to change its maneuverability and speed. Yeah. Ratarid says, "Do you think that the mech tech will lead? Do you think that the mech tech will lead into tech for drones? So the drone tech has actually already been worked on. That's another thing that's come out of Squadron. They built a system for controlling like a gantry crane for Squadron. But they said in the monthly report when they did so, and I think this was early last year is when they said that, um, that they explicitly said that it would be used for controlling drones. Um, so different thing. Um, oh, the the Cygnus is
Great cat.
it's Gray Cat, but um, it's not a drone because you pilot it, you drive it.
Yeah, it's technically a mech vehicle
Yeah,
thing.
because it has legs.
Legs. Where is the shot where they're flying through the hangar? I know it's in
But look
Help
at this guy.
Line.
He's cutting a panel off of a derelict. He's doing
Yeah, they're
salvage
just
right next to this salvage looking beamy guy. Um, that this is concept art, but that looks exactly like what we just read about. Um, and all they have to do is give it different tools. And what I really like is for them to, okay, you've got the tractor beam one, you can swap that out for a salvage tool with a backpack that allows you to collect RMC and fill up a great big old backpack, kind of like how they have that for your character. And it's supposed like I don't think that doesn't work yet. They've made the backpack, but it doesn't function where it's tied to the two-handed salvage tool to like fill it up. I want them
how
to
the
do that.
Duan's Tower Tool is currently functional.
I don't know. I've never used it.
Yeah, I don't think it's currently functional.
Yeah. I mean obviously you can do that with the one hand, but the hopefully like if they could do that same thing but for the mech, you've got a size 1 bespoke salvage beam for collecting RMC, a size 1 bespoke mining head for collecting hand minables and stuff on a planet. That one looks pressurized too. It could be. It's hard to know because this looks like this maneuvering unit looks like it just sits over the shoulders and wraps around because you can see like that coming along like that. And so we don't know what the face of it looks like. It could be. I mean, I
Also,
would
concept
want.
art.
Yeah, it's concept art. If it was EVAing, I would want it to be pressurized, like you climb in it. But that's just my preference. Um, but yeah, I'm very excited about our mech stompy boy. And if you haven't seen the leaked images of the paints for it, they look cool. So
Oh, I've not. I didn't. Oh, I figured there would be.
yeah, they're
You
in
guys
the
talk about
leaks
leaks. I
channel in
don't
my
like it.
Discord. So
I
I'm not gonna
mute
put them
all
up on
leak
screen.
channels. I mute all leak channels.
Yep. Yeah. So if you want to look at them, they're in my Discord in the leaks news stuff. But yeah, that's our big stompy boy, and this is my theory, my headcanon for it. So
Pathfinders theory.
we'll see. Yeah.
Star theory. There you go. Star theory.
Star theory. Yeah.
God.
Oh geez. So yeah, let's move on to the roadmap roundup. Oop, that one. There we go.
Speaking of the roadmap roundup, the store or not the store, the website changed again.
It looks good.
It does look good. That's like Comlink is a bit harder to find now. But it's hard to find in a good way because other stuff is easier to find. The homepage is better. Obviously, there are people who don't like it, people who do like it. I think one of the funniest tinfoil hatty updates they made is there's games, our games, Play Now, Star Citizen, and in development Squadron 42. Fine, whatever. But under shop, experience our game Squadron 42. No, Squadron 42 is not back up on the store yet. Expect that at CitizenCon. I'm not saying we know anything about it. We're just expecting Squadron to be a pretty high focus of J2, plus it going back up on the store. And I would like to know if they announce that Squadron 42 has gone gold, I want to know what day, because Jared just posted that he shaved his beard again. And I want to know if he shaved it because Disney Squadron went gold.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, 324 is out. That's not really a big deal. The server meshing isn't in yet. 4.0 is not in yet. What else could be? It has to be something we don't know about. This is assuming that he lives his entire life about it. I don't know what the scientific word for hair is, his facial hair, in a relation to Star Citizen Project or Clan Imperium Project. He doesn't. He is a person outside of his Clan Imperium. I just think it's funny to tinfoil hat theories.
No, I believe it too because
what does this mean? What tinfoil hats?
Yeah, well, they've made a big deal about Jared shaving before, or lack thereof, not shaving.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It feels like too much coincidence.
Just Jared. Just Jared.
Yeah, Jared did,
and he
posted it. So
So I think he's an amazing host, but I don't think he'd be a very good comedian because all of his jokes are one-offs, and he does not like to repeat himself. Like, I like his jokes. I love the whole Halloween Habs of Horror thing, but he doesn't like to repeat his jokes, and that's perfectly fine. So he did the whole no shave till which patch was it?
3.0. Was
it 3.0? No shave till 3.0, and then he shaves it, and people are expecting him to do that joke again. He's not going to. It's not his style of jokes. That's right. It's with the roadmap roundup.
I wonder if maybe he lost a bet.
I don't know. I think the going back and forth is really good. I honestly like that he goes back and forth because he gets that like full beard and he looks like he's a bit more seasoned, a bit more tired, honestly, and just kind of like been doing this a while. It's kind of like, is he getting ready to leave? And then he shaves it off and like, wow, you're ready to like go another few rounds. Like it's really good. I just like the back and forth he does. I imagine that's why he does it, because he probably likes it too. What was I about to say? Oh, the index of all these is currently updated, so the Roadmap Roundup for this last week is in there.
Oh, drop the link in the chat.
Now I can go open it because I lost on my tab. It's in Sheets.
If you want to read the header.
Absolutely. So, as we are to do when we do these things, we like to read the headers because it gives you the intention, lets us all know, everyone together that listens to this, the intention of whatever document straight from CIG that we're reading. Much like reading a letter from Chris himself, we want to know the intention and why we're reading this, why this information is coming to us. That way we know what to do with said information. So, happy Wednesday, everyone. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup, the CIG community team. And I actually added a feature to the index which calls out non-standard headers, which looks a bit broken right now.
Whoops. It's because of 324.
No, it's right. Just the first few headers are not standard, is why a lot of them are lit up. I just need to do a couple tweaks to add more rules. Share. F1 link can view, copy link. There you guys go. So eventually, I'd like to get all of the monthly reports in it, which I've already started. I'm already up to 3 or so. And I'd like to get all the jump points in here as well, because the reason I'm making the index is to make everything Control F searchable. So that any time somebody wants to know what's the history of this thing, or where is this thing, or where did this thing go, I thought it was on the roadmap, Control F in the indexes, and you can figure it out. And I've also started an adjacent archive, which is why I'm going to start doing archive stuff, both in video and in streams, going back and documenting all of the images that Star Citizen has posted since the beginning of time. Yay! So like stuff in the subscriber vault, stuff that shows up in ship manuals, what are they called? Ship brochure? Yeah, the ship sail brochures. Basically,
transmissions.
Yeah, everything. If there's and there's commercials. Well, shoot. If there is an image that has been posted somewhere, I will be making that available in a Patreon. Not Patreon. That'd be fun. In a Pinterest. There we go. Pinterest board, because Pinterest lets me do tags and links, as well as title and descriptions.
Cool.
And so there is that. I only have 13 pins currently, but there's some good history in the ones that I did find, because I found the original that Chris directing, and it's like bleached in red, that he uses on most of the times when there's a post about him or from him. And so it's on the set of Wing Commander movie 1999, and Hugh Quashire is the other actor in the image. It's the opening
That takes me back. Why don't you go ahead and just read the updates, and then we can talk about them.
All right. So notable changes for September 4th, 2024. Release view. The following cards have been moved into Alpha 324 column, targeting 324X release. Something they don't mention, but is pertinent, moved from 4.0 back to 324. So the cards that were moved are the RSI Zeus Mark II, ES, and CL. And both the descriptions are the same: building, balancing, and implementing RSI's small multi-crew ship. And then the CL says cargo ship. Zeus Mark II ES and Mark II CL into the game. And then the following cards have been added to the release view: the Saber Peregrine, just because it was a straight flyable. Building, balancing, and implementing Aegis racing ship, the Peregrine, into the game. So Peregrine is just there because it's now out, straight to flyable. Surprise! Here you go. His racing ship. It's a good racing ship too. But I imagine we have much to discuss about the ES and CL moving backwards.
Yeah.
What's the opposite of a delay?
Gosh, I don't know. They're are they ahead of schedule? You know, because that's the thing that I've been seeing everybody posting about. Oh, the Zeus is ahead of schedule. Hooray! It's going to be released sooner. And I'm like, hold on. No, nothing has changed, folks, and we're going to talk about why. But before we do that, last I checked, there were no updates to the progress tracker with this update.
I was there when it was posted, and so I'm like, okay, so Shiny's gonna have like, you know, at least a few hours to till he gets on it, and I forgot to go back and check.
Do you want to take a look real quick while I pull up the other link?
Delta,
just to make sure.
We are on the 4th.
Yeah, because as far as I know, there weren't any additions. We are anticipating, because that's what they said in the Roadmap Roundup, that there will be additional teams and deliverables added to the new progress tracker format.
Delta. I don't think he's posted. Oh, no changes have been detected for the week 2024-09-04. Check back next time. Thank you for the note, Shiny. That's very helpful.
So, we know that the Zeuses, the Zeus, I don't know what's the plural.
I think it's
Zeuses are targeting a 324.x release. They were on the 4.0 release column when 4.0
you have the clip?
Was still targeted for. Yep, yeah. When I think I know the one you're talking about. When 4.0 was still targeted for Q3. Now 4.0 is targeted for Q3. That means it's the whole numbered patch preceding CitizenCon and IAE. And so usually what happens is the Q3 patch, which usually releases, you know, a couple weeks late, you know, right before a week or two before CitizenCon, and then we get a .x for CitizenCon and a different .x for IAE. Now, since 4.0 has been, you know, pushed back to Q4, we don't know when in Q4 it's going to be coming. We talked about this in the last podcast. You know, we tend to think that it's probably going to be between CitizenCon and IAE, because it really shouldn't have been delayed all that much, especially because they're trying to do another tech preview test right now. But so we had this comment on Spectrum from Niku, who is the French community manager, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Niku has since Niku got hired, they have been Johnny on the spot with the information, and so they've got.
So
go ahead.
Nico's also summarizes all of the posts from. I don't know if it's like an invite only or how you get a hold of it, but Paul's Discord specifically has a news channel specifically that he got invited to, that Nico posts summarizations by him of all of the Star Citizen content. So most of us have the Reddit bot in our Discord, and that's Reddit doing it. Or if he posts on Reddit, then they'll go over. But he posts summarizations of ISCs, SCLs, different posts, and basically he is a one-stop shop for anything that is published by CIG. So he is doing amazing. How does he find time for outreach? I have no idea.
Yeah,
he's just amazing at it.
Just nuts. And I think the reason that Niku does their own summaries afterwards is because they have access to the people who said the things. They will go back and be like, hey, I want to create a summary. This is what I got. What do you think of what I have? And that way they can put things into proper context versus, you know, the Reddit one that was done by the you know, whoever's on the Star Citizen Discord. You know, that's their own bias from outside of CIG. So that's why this is really good.
I've chosen Hotfoot.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the antonyms of delay, and there's just no good ones like hasten, hurry, rush. But like those don't carry like It wasn't rushed, but I'm choosing Hotfoot.
Hotfoot.
They've been Hotfoot.
So this person made a comment on Spectrum, posted on Spectrum, asking if we get a 3.24.x patch just because they're upset about the state of 324. Cool, you're upset about the state of 324. You can leave constructive feedback and say things without saying this is just a joke. That's just rude. Don't say those things. Updates the PU should improve things and not make it worse. Sorry, that's not how
we'll
this
get back
works,
to that
buddy.
later.
Yeah. But Niku replied, we are currently working on multiple hotfixes for the live environment, which we've already seen multiples. We saw them in the first weekend last week, and they're continuing to do so, intending to roll these out by this weekend. There they are. There will also be multiple 3.24.x patches, both with content, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements. We appreciate your patience while we're steaming these out. So, multiple 3.24.x patches. Paul replies, content patches sound like y'all are going to be posting 3.24.x patches to IAE. Any update on these planned patches would be helpful to set proper expectations. So that's what a lot of people are worried, that IAE is going to be a 3.24.x patch and 4.0 isn't coming until the end of the year. But we talked about that last podcast. But we already have 3.24.1 a week. It's not to live yet, but it's open for everybody a week after 3.24 went out, and our Stompy Boy Savior is in it. I haven't read the patch notes for it, so I don't know what other changes are in there, and what other fixes
So far,
and
just
such.
a lot of bug fixes.
Yeah, which is great. But that's a 3.24x patch in a single week. And so there are probably going to be multiples. One of them will definitely be the CitizenCon patch, because we're only about 6 weeks away from CitizenCon. And the reason
6
this
weeks.
is
That's way sooner. It's way
I
sooner
know
than 6
time
weeks.
is flying. Holy crap!
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's exactly 6 weeks in mind.
Yep. Math,
I was working on my calendar. Yeah, I was working on my calendar, and I basically my brain only does calendar in like it has to have an end on it. I can't just calendar out to nowhere. So my current buffer for my calendar goes out to CitizenCon. So my current like streaming schedule and everything, the 6 streams a week, is going to be definite till CitizenCon, and then we'll figure it out. Then we're doing 48-hour stream for that.
Northern Trooper says, don't they still have tickets for sale? Yeah, I thought they opened
Not
it
yet.
back up.
There's going to be one more push.
Yeah, I don't know what changed to open it back up for more.
So the venue that they have is expandable.
Oh, I guess based off the demand, they were able to say, hey, we got more people.
Best friends. Yep.
Hey,
Yeah.
Liquid Wayne, thanks for coming and saying hi. Thanks for the support, subscribing for 3 months. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I imagine you're like, oh my gosh, we have this much. Yeah, good idea.
Thing about the
so
how funds.
Yeah, so Liquid Wayne just subscribed, and Moobot at the perfect timing, talking about stackup.org. Just to remind everybody, and again, thank you, Liquid Wayne, for the sub. And someone else subbed earlier when we first got started. I apologize for forgetting already. Yeah, Brennan G subscribed. So I keep no monetization for myself. When I get a payout from Twitch or YouTube, I donate it to stackup.org. Stackup.org is a veterans charity helping connect veterans and military members with video games and video game communities in order to combat PTSD and the stressors of being deployed and away from friends and family. And so from our fundraising last year, we raised nearly $2,000, and we sponsored a loot crate that was sent to a bunch of Marines who are being deployed aboard ship, just like I used to do way back when. And so super cool mission. Really glad to support it, and I'm glad all you are here joining us in that mission. So yeah.
According to the countdown, CitizenCon is going to start at 4 in the morning on the East Coast.
Oh man. So if it's 4 in the morning on the East Coast, it'll be 2 a.m. here.
Dang, the
Jeez.
West Coast people just don't. So, but we're starting. So me, Ender, and Haban, two people in my organization, both also content creators, but very like sporadic content creators so far. I stream with Ender every Thursday a week, currently. Our planning then our 48-hour stream as we did last year, and we're starting it in the evening Friday. I thought we'd like have way more time than. Yeah, so the evening on Friday. And I'm like, I think we're starting at 10. So it would have been 45 minutes ago. And we'll only have 5 hours till it starts.
I
of the
will
stream.
be sure to make time to join you guys during the weekend.
Absolutely.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
this note from Niku about there being multiple 3.24.x patches coming a week before the update to the roadmap, where the Zeuses are targeting a 3.24.x patch, should be telling everybody that the Zeus release date did not change. It was always going to be CitizenCon. It's just CitizenCon had intended to be a 4.0.x patch. It can't do, it's CitizenCon. 4.0 was, or 4.0 was delayed. So now it's a CitizenCon patch will be a 3.24.x patch. And here is why. In case everybody forgot, CitizenCon last year during Talking Ship, they explained.
That's the one.
Yep. They explained that they want to develop the Zeus just like they did the Spirit, where the Spirit was released as a concept at CitizenCon 2952, and then released was actually released at CitizenCon last year. And so last year we got the Zeus as a concept. This year we'll get the Zeus released at CitizenCon. And here's the clip.
So
That's the ST.
last year we introduced the Spirit, and if anyone that may be playing on their live the last couple of days might have seen a new ship added to the verse, the A1. We hope to follow a similar route with the Zeus, where we announce it today, and then in about a year's time, hopefully it'll be ready to reveal to the public to actually play with. But this isn't just a concept. We're not just going to show you some images.
Very sneaky. Not the MR, not the ES, not the CL, the ST. But yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, they were.
We didn't have any like official places to point at to tell people the ST still exists.
Mm-hmm.
It still exists. Insert meme guy pointing at something.
And they talked about how their ability to predict how long it will take them to develop a ship has gotten to the point where they can do so in terms of scheduling and everything to a matter of days, if not a couple of weeks.
I think the actual words he said was 8 days.
Yep.
Within like 8 days.
The cutter, they were within just a matter of days in terms of when they were able to finish it. And so
also,
that's what they're doing here.
Yeah, they've gotten better at ship making because the A1 and C1 had to come in 2 separate patches. And I believe, when was the crap? It was because he just mentioned that the A1 made it in for CitizenCon.
The C1 was
to
IE,
the much
wasn't it?
chagrin of
C1 owners.
That's basically anyone who didn't want to do bombing. Like most people like had the C1, got the A1, or had other vehicles, the Zeus owners included. And we all got a bomber for our troubles. I mean, it was fun, but I maybe used that functionality once. And it didn't even like it was fun, but like it was a skill that I didn't care to learn because it was gonna be taken away in a little minute, and I don't need a ground bomber, at least that way. What I want is we get a rocket turret that on the bottom of the M2. That'd be helpful.
What we need is legit bombing missions, and we need the bombing mechanic to, pardon me, be more mature. It's still very.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Pardon me. Very rudimentary.
Where is the C1? Hold on. Open all the things. Okay, so the A1 and C1 did make it into the same overall patch, but it must have been a point patch after it. Because I know there was what felt like a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
But apparently it was
about it.
That's interesting because 322 was December and 321 with the A and C2 was October. It felt like so long.
Did they ever fix the A1 cluster bombing, or was it just one release at a time? You know what? I have no idea.
That's weapon balance. It's like it probably changes every patch.
Yep.
Like the flight mechanics currently. Whoa.
So, that's the roadmap roundup for September 4th. So no huge changes, but just again setting expectations because a lot of people have thought that, especially after what Jared said regarding ISC next week, a lot of people thought the Zeus was coming a lot sooner. Just saying, it might come sooner. I think they're probably going to hold it until CitizenCon, so that way they can do what they did because they went over the Spirit release in this panel at CitizenCon. I think they're going to do the same thing about the Zeus and how it came to be, and basically they'll give it its 15 seconds of fame.
And then it will get way more when it gets into the hands of players because, oh my gosh, there's so much love for the Zeus.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely think the love for the Zeus has far eclipsed that for the Spirit.
Yeah.
But then, what's gonna? I would be willing to bet they do the same thing. The the Spirit is a 2-person ship. The Zeus is a 2 to 3-person ship. I would be willing to bet we get a new concept 2 to 3-person ship.
E1's waiting on gameplay.
Yep.
We'll hear about that when the gameplay teams are unlocked by gameplay. So first we need server meshing, then we need all the stuff from server meshing to get in and harden, and then the gameplay teams need to be able to circle back around to creating an entire new loop, which they probably want to focus on fixing the loops we have already.
They don't want to have
a new one.
A jank version of personnel transport when what they're going for is server meshing with NPCs actually walking out, into your hangar and boarding your ship based off of Quantum Star Sim telling them to do so. What about the Polaris? Polaris is IAE. They're targeting IAE for the Polaris.
I think it's very telling that we still don't have the Polaris on the roadmap because it has not been moved to 324. Which means, to me, and this is a little tinfoil hatty, but more...
the Polaris isn't even on the release view.
What's the... Yeah, that's what I mean. I know it's not there, but the fact that it hasn't been put into 324 column...
Oh, yeah.
It's still very telling to me. Educated guess, that's the word I'm looking for. A little bit tinfoil hat, but more of a educated guess. That 4.0 can, and they're still planning on 4.0 being an IAE patch.
Yep.
And you have your timeline you're working with.
I completely agree. Because I do think we're going to get some more things added to 4.0 before it
Which
goes
I think is hilarious
testing.
because it's going to keep people out of Pyro. Because no, the AIE organization is not going to hold an IE event, an aerospace...
Intergalactic Aerospace Expo.
Aerospace Expo in a lawless, terrorist-ridden system. Much like the Olympics isn't going to hold it in North Korea, I think.
Yeah,
at least,
or
they won't hold it
Somalia,
or a country that's currently under war. They're like IAE is kind of the same kind of an organization.
Shimbasa, I don't think that they're going to kick 4.0 out the door to live at CitizenCon.
Always.
They
Always
have done that
always.
before, but that was with patches that were less significant. I think that we will definitely be in PTU by CitizenCon, and and they'll talk about it, and I think they're going to be candid about, hey, we wanted to be here sooner, but we're at PTU, we're getting great data, appreciate all your help, but I don't think they're going to rush it out just to say we got it out at CitizenCon, because the big thing is they want to be able to get good testing for it. Now, do they want to get it to live sooner rather than later? Yeah, because live is where they get the data they need, the concurrency data for server meshing testing. But they still have to test the features. They're not going to push all these features out without testing them appropriately. And it's almost it's not as thick as 323, and especially given that all this is one patch branch, 323 and 324. But there's still a good chunk of stuff here in 4.0.
More.
With more very likely. And so those things do need to still go through the whole Evo and PTU phase, just like a normal patch without server meshing. But I think we're going to get more of the concurrency data for server meshing with tech preview tests than what they'll get in Evo and PTU, even though people will want to test 4.0. People don't play the PTU very much. And more people
like
play
said,
PTU.
They don't play it the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. People do things differently in PTU than they do in live because you're not really progressing or anything like that. There's no consequences and such. And so the data for Evo and PTU that they get for server meshing will not be great, which is why they're doing the tech previews. But we still need to test all these features, and it's going to take a while to test all this stuff.
And CitizenCon also is very little about 4.0. 4.0 is the footnote of CitizenCon.
Yeah.
CitizenCon is about, as far as we know, and this is a little more speculation, more picking up on how they've been posturing all their content. CitizenCon is about 1.0 and Squadron's release. Not saying it's releasing at CitizenCon, don't twist words, but it's about the release. It's about Squadron getting out the gate, and it's about placing the gate for Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's finally giving, telegraphing, I think that's what the term is. Basically, letting everyone know, news orgs, players, backers, people who don't care about the game, developers, everyone, telling people where the finish line is. But it's also game development expected to move.
Yep.
But it won't feature creep anymore. Feature creep is for after the 1.0 live release.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things change after 1.0. Which basically PTU will then be a static feature that will always be there, I assume, to test stuff. And like people have been begging CIG to do for the past several years because they don't know how alpha games work, to treat the game like a live release. 1.0 is that live release where they stop treating it as an alpha because it won't be alpha anymore.
Yep. So that
we're like dates? Yes.
Yeah.
Like dates.
We're gonna get a Squadron date. I guarantee it.
I hope they don't give a 1.0 date. Please don't give a 1.0 date.
No.
God,
if they do that would be a giant mistake. But Squadron for sure. Yeah.
Giant Kazi steak.
Yeah. So let's move on to server meshing news. So I was hoping. I worked. I flew with the Army on Wednesday. I had 2 different flights, and so I got off late. Dibley says, replace the future feature creep with addressing the ship backlog, please, pretty please.
What?
That's not how it works.
Replace feature creep with addressing the ship backlog. They addressed the ship backlog last CitizenCon. They have a plan on how to tackle it and how they're going to tackle it. A lot of the ships, almost half the ships in the backlog aren't in the backlog. So Javelin, all the Idrises, they're already done. Bigger ships like the Orion, specifically the Orion Pioneer, they're gameplay locked. Ships like the Kraken, again, really big ship. They are locked behind mostly time and talent, and time of the talent. And so much like they're doing the Polaris Galaxy Perseus, they're probably going to do for a couple of Drake ships, probably Ironclad. And we're probably going to see a much bigger Anvil ship as they go with the whatever that big ship is and the Liberator. Because big ships are a lot of time and dedication for functionally little payback for the game, for the player base overall. Jupiter's not a thing yet. Hold your horses. You must.
I do hope we
because-
get an update to this segment of the ship talk.
Yes.
I would love
Very
to
few
hear
people can
how
shell
that
out
is
for
going.
big ships. I imagine they make way more for selling good small ships, aka Zeuses and Atlases, than they would from even the fame of the fabled Atlas Anvil capital ship. I think they would make more from the player base overall with the Zeus.
Oh yeah, no, that is, and we've talked about this. The more things that are more affordable makes you more money than less things that are less affordable or less affordable. But like I want to see, how has the ship team continued to grow? Are they continuing to grow it? What has been their progress on, they're refining their techniques and their pipeline and such. But yeah, this segment is a must watch for everybody for understanding how this works. And the other part of it that's really important is this slide right here and what they're talking about. This is why they can't just continue to add ships into perpetuity, because the amount of support work just becomes exponential, especially as more features are added and more gameplay is added, more and tech is added. That requires more support for each ship. And when the Carrack came out and it was really cool looking and it didn't have really hardly any functionality, it's a lot easier to support. But with all the other things, with resource management and engineering, with repair gameplay, with drone gameplay, with scanning gameplay, all that stuff coming, when the Carrack becomes feature complete, the amount of work for them to continue to support it in an ongoing fashion, because they have to continue to. It's not a matter of okay, well, we just need to update this. It's every patch. Someone's gonna have to go through and do a pass and make sure that the ship still functions, and continue to balance things appropriately. And it's an exponential curve as they add more ships, and so they have to move away from this, because otherwise, if they just exponentially add more and more ships, or add more, lots more ships, the amount of people that will be required to do so will go up a lot more. They won't be able to continue to do that much work with less than 36 people. Hey, Azaro07, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
So the question was asked, what's the SD4? It is a racing ship. It's probably my second favorite racing ship because, well,
It's
probably my second favorite racing ship.
Steve goes fast. I agree with Shimpasta.
Somehow within like the last patch, I guess, because technically it was my second favorite behind the Arrow. Now it's my second favorite, and the Arrow's in third place because of the Peregrine. Like, Peregrine's really good. I really like the Peregrine. I love how it flies, and it's a racing ship, which means no guns. Nice. So yes, I don't know where we know ST from, because I don't think we don't have any ships that are STs in the game already. Definitely not anything from RSI. And also, the other Steve is a great guy. Just putting that out there.
Yep. Let's move on
Steve
to server meshing news. One picture is better than thousands of words. Yeah. So when Naz and I were putting together the episode over the week, we were both hopeful that we would have be able to report on the tech preview test that was supposed to go on. Was it starting Thursday night, and then they're trying to get it going yesterday? That didn't happen. The build failed. It got well into QA and everything was good, and then at the very end, it didn't pan out.
Specifically, the live push.
Yeah, and so I think it's definitely going to make it next week. But then we got this SCL, as well as some commentary from in the Evocati Task Force Spectrum chat that I think is really relevant and worth going over. So, Naz, why don't you talk about the 324 release, and then we'll talk a little bit about what Benoit had to say about server meshing in yesterday's SCL.
Okay. It's funny because I was just on launch sequence. I believe we recorded that on Friday early morning. And we were saying the same thing. Like, we were actually hoping that we'd have like data to talk about the server mesh test, but so he was asked the question by Jared, how did 324 update go? I'm gonna read it verbatim and then we'll kind of expound on that. So the release was a bit rough because there were several fundamental systems involved in the development of Star Citizen, such as instance system, hangars, and player synchronization. But we've been working on fixes since the update's release to improve the situation. Many have already been released and more are in development. The 324 update also allows us to monitor the game's optimization much more closely, thanks to new metrics and information we can now analyze. The hangars are the first instance location areas, and the new technology will allow us to continue developing more content for the game. That is a summarization by, I think, Nico of not what he said verbatim. So we all know that, well, a lot of us have heard that Evocati got pretty burnt out testing 324, and that's mostly why they put it into other patches, and we know those first few patches were pretty rough, and it got vastly better in the later updates. But they still didn't have enough concurrency to test a lot of the systems. Some bugs showed up specifically on live. They didn't know those bugs were there, but they did run into a lot of problems with the inventory system and the hangar calling system, and ATC, he mentioned a lot, was a really big bottleneck that was having problems. But they ran into this problem where 4.0 was on the tail. They needed to just push it to live. So it's pretty rough because 324 was never supposed to be its own patch. It was just held up, the technology specifically, from 323. And it just kept giving them problems. But now that it's in, and now it's getting hardened while we're waiting on the lead up to actually 4.0 being in testing, it will allow them, and this is something I didn't know and still don't know how they're going to do it later, but instance location areas, apparently they have many more plans for how they're going to use that around the game. So, I wonder if... No, they still would have to be on the same server, because we're all on the same server.
Yeah, it doesn't take you off the server. It just moves you essentially off the map.
Yeah, wow. It's weird where the, physical location is of you and the hangar, because you're not... I don't think you're currently in the hangar that you think you're in until you call ATC.
Yep.
But all the players of the hangar type are on top of each other. Physically.
That's why you can hear people in their own personal hangars. That's a bug, but that's because all these hangars are the hangar door closes and then your hangar is physically moved somewhere else within the game space that isn't it isn't there in the spaceport. It isn't there in the station anymore. It's somewhere else. And then when you call ATC again, that's ATC gets the word, and then they move you back. And that's why it got so broken, because it was a massive change to how ATC works. It was a massive change by adding instancing, which we hadn't had before, built in the instancing tech. And so this was, foundational tech, almost like PES was.
Yeah.
In that there was multiple aspects of it that were foundational, that were drastically different from what we had before.
Yeah, and it sounds like in the way that they describe it, definitely instancing was never the plan. Wow, post 2017 was never the plan. But it kind of sounds like how Benoit was talking about it. It was a necessary evil, and it was an evil or a feature that they really needed to get the gameplay that they have been designing for years now. So it may be a magic that Chris probably didn't want in the full vision that he had, but unfortunately, dreams do have to contend with reality.
Yeah, and
And
for
this
with
is
the player counts that they want, especially
Mhm.
with, like if you have consolidation of players for an event, you
Mhm.
would run out of physical hangar space.
Yep.
Even if they added more and more hangars, you'd run out. Now, I think that it could be very possible that they use the instancing tech for HABs,
Oh yeah, yeah.
in some way, shape, or form, or other ownable locations, because the instancing is. I think that there's a potential for them to be able to do that, simply to allow for consolidation of people, like at a landing zone, because there's a big event going on there, and so a lot of people are coming, going, waking up there, using facilities, and so on. But again, also for missions and events, you can go through a door, and going through that door closes, and now that instance of where you are is whisked away. And it's no longer, by doing that, they can take you out of the object container that you were in and put you in a different object container, which could be in an entirely different server. So that way you could have multiple instances of this mission running at the same time and not impact the server that the mission would be originating from. Like if the mission originated it in a space station, in a landing zone, and then you could have that it makes it so those missions aren't exclusive, where only one group can have that mission at a time. Oh, you can have another group running that mission,
And this is
not
actually
like
used heavily in most MMOs for a very specific activity that they talked about last year, raids.
yeah.
Because they're longer, they're much more cinematic. Like the raid gameplay we saw at CitizenCon was just a hostile delivery mission. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine they have much bigger plans for raids because that was not a raid. That was a go get a box.
Yep.
And it was just there was just speed bumps in the way. Raids are traditionally multi-tiered. A lot of them have puzzles in between, and a lot of them have many different rooms you have to go through, not just land, be fired at, and go get a box or go kill a thing. So I imagine that even though they would like the normal distribution center missions are meant to be sandboxing, have multiple people in multiple different relationships with the faction of the DC playing all at the same time. Raids traditionally aren't that kind of thing. They are very specifically A, B, C, D setup with a very cinematic outworking. So maybe large parts of the DC could change in a very specific way to make it more cinematic, more like a mini story.
Yeah, and it's just a way that they can be more efficient in order to offload a burden, especially like if you've got a lot of people in their own hangars and such, at an LZ. Well, if you're able to offload all those people out of the server that's running that landing zone, or even that station, then
Could you imagine
it won't degrade
if
the performance of that particular server within a server mesh.
could you imagine if we did a server for the planet, landing zone, and moons, but all of the instance locations were on a different server?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly like the year.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be so good because, and not having like all the NPC stuff on the instance, we'll call it the instance server, means that you can have way higher frame rates because the only thing you're tracking is all of the instances in their crap, not all the other players in the system, not the NPCs, not the game logic, just their hangars. So one of the biggest problems I have with 324 is trying to place stuff on tables, and the table's just absolutely flipping out. The the Hurston table, that the black granite with the gold on it, loves to move. It will just walk across your hangar because of the physics simulation. It sucks so bad. But we also know that I think they talk about it later somewhere in here. It's because of low frame rates on the server and the physics simulation not having the time it needs because the server running so bad. So that would be so good.
Do you want to keep reading? Did you finish reading the 324 update, or I forget where we left off on that? Or do you think
I got to the first arrow? Where the server mission tells it down there. Okay, so second arrow. I didn't read all of it because it was under an arrow. Benoit also explains why some bugs couldn't be detected. This is what we were talking about already. So we can just read this and move on to the next one. Why some bugs couldn't be detected before going live, such as the hauling missions, which plagued everyone. I basically just noped out of the thing for a couple days while they went the fix. In initial testing, the PTU and Evocati, with the Evocati, the testing process was more serious, and players completed the mission fully on average. On the live environment, many players abandoned missions, picked up another, and then abandoned that one as well. What happened is that the database and the table stored these cargo spawn requests per location in the PU, creating a queue that blocked new cargo generation requests. Players behave very differently across environments, and we needed to release 324 live to continue addressing these issues. So thank you for your patience. So basically, in PTU, most people, on average, are trying to test the features. And so they'll pull up a mission of whatever, and they'll go do the mission. And that worked fine because you're, in this instance of the hauling missions, you were having the server spawn your cargo and remove that cargo and then giving it the despawn when it got to the location. In live, apparently there's a lot of people, well, there's at least some people, abandoning missions in repetition, which made the spawn request happen. And then basically the log saying, I need you to spawn this on the server got so big, and this is in the paragraph, but they mentioned it in SCL, that the inventory itself for the server and that log got so big it didn't have enough space to access the next spawn request, which, even though you were trying to actually do the mission, it just didn't know where your stuff was, and that's why it didn't spawn the cargo. And they didn't have any idea that would happen until it went live. They couldn't have even seen that before live because people acted so differently in PTU.
They really hammered down on that point of why live is still a testing environment, folks. Just because it's live, in live we are testing it to get the game ready for 1.0, and a order of magnitude honestly, more people coming with 1.0. It's
bug still would have happened on 1.0.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did not know it existed before it went live. So I imagine they could also do a 3-tiered system. PTU for features that they're working on, somewhere in between live and PTU where it's, I don't know, you get like bonuses for playing or something. And then to live to get somewhere closer to it, that it's these are features we're sure about and we can transition them into it.
Shampasta, I don't think they need to push the live faster. I think what they need to do is get through the waves faster. I think if they had gotten to wave 1 sooner, it might have encouraged more people to play and test, and these things might have shown up. But that's the issue, is the going through Evo and PTU allows them to test features in how does the feature function, but it doesn't give you the concurrency. And so if you're still having troubles with getting the feature to function, getting through issues that aren't concurrency related, you still have to do that in a testing environment without pushing it to live. So it's
if they know the bug,
difficult
they
balance.
can fix the bug.
Yeah.
If they know the bug, they can fix it in PTU. That makes sense. Those are the bugs that should be fixed in PTU because that is how they finish the tech to then put onto a stable version of the game. But this bug specifically, with the log quest being too long, they didn't know about until it went live.
Yep, it didn't exist.
Because not about them having the data or knowing or like enough people. People were just, it wasn't about not having enough people. It was about how people were interacting with the game and how different it is from live. People were actively trying to avoid bugs that would make them stop testing the mission to get the mission done. But in live, they didn't care. It wasn't so serious. They weren't trying to specifically act as QA testers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
hey, Victoria, good to see you.
It's a great social experiment. But I want to know how they're gonna like. How do you even plan for that?
Well, and that's
like,
why,
how do you tell people act natural? When you tell people to act natural, they never act natural.
And that's why, like with the tech preview test, like they gave people instructions, like, hey, we need you to do this, and you do that in order to give them, specific data. But that's why the more recent ones were open to everyone, because at first it was Evo, and then I don't think they went Evo to everybody. I think they went Evo to Wave 1. I don't remember now. But they use stratification, but in order to get to the concurrency level that they wanted, but they, and even then, but it illustrates why server meshing isn't the thing that people think it is, because they really just they need people to move around in the game. Because really with server meshing, all they're testing is handing off entities from one server to another. And people moving about within the game universe on their ships and on foot and such, using the gate, using elevators and trams and everything to make sure that works. That's all it is.
I hobo. They should stop. Break. I'm still in the belief they should stop bring ships straight to live and not Evocati, at least for test. What data are they going to collect in Evocati? It makes all the difference. So I'm curious, what data do you think they're going to collect in Evocati? That's why I act as a goofus. But do you act as a goofus in the same way on live and PTU? I mean, even if you do, most don't.
The next thing that they talked about, and we're going to continue to read Niku's summary. Why did players have to wait so long for a new server meshing test? The previous test provided us with a lot of information to improve server meshing, hybrid performance, aka the replication layer, and game server communication. So the way that the servers that run the simulation, not the entire shard, which is the servers, the replication layer and such, but the way the servers themselves communicate to clients and communicate to the replication layer, which needed improvements due to excessive interaction delays, what we called the NMQ, the network message queue. The RMQ, replication message queue, is the new adaptation of the NMQ, allowing us to listen to far more information requested by players, such as opening doors, equipping items, etc., to better manage interaction delays. Now that this new system is ready, we'd like to have the community test it to continue improving it. So right now, some servers are running on NMQ, others are on RMQ to compare the data. When the time is right, all servers will switch to RMQ. So they rolled this out with 324. They did these tests back like right before 323 went live, and it got them the data to say, okay, not only can we server meshing just by spreading the simulation load, would improve the performance of the game. But this, by doing these tests on on a configuration of mesh servers, allowed them to also see the bottlenecks in the way that data transmission is handled within a mesh. And so, if you remember, one of the deliverables that was on the roadmap release view for a while, it was the oh gosh, and it fell off. It was
Trespassing, interior coloring.
it related to that, but it was basically making the network code more efficient. That's what this is. So testing server meshing has allowed them to begin the process of optimizing the network communication code even before server meshing goes live. It allowed them to detect these issues, these bottlenecks, even before deploying server meshing. And so it's going to allow. We're already seeing, and they talked about this, but they're already seeing the performance improvements on live with 3.2.4, and so it means that the baseline when 4.0 releases will be better than the baseline had they not done this beforehand, because they could have done this beforehand, or not without. They could have released 4.0 without this, and it would have worked, and we would have had an increase in server performance. But the servers themselves having a better tick rate, a better server FPS, only gets you so far. If they're running faster, but they can only still communicate to you and the replication layer at a certain speed because of bottlenecks and how all these different messages, these updates get queued. And they talked about the entity component update scheduler. That's something that they worked on, was it last year or the year before? That made a big difference in client-side performance, because the client also has a component of that for how that works. So really important and interesting stuff. And it shows, it really highlights the quality of the data that they got from the tech preview tests. And now we're going to be doing a tech preview test with server meshing and the new RMQ, the RMQ that has been getting proven out in live, not proven out in PT, not just proven out in PTU, Evo and such, but proven out in live after being developed. And they, okay, it's already working in live. Let's roll it into this next tech preview test and see what the new baseline is after making all these fixes and adjustments and upgrading that message queue. And I think we're probably, from a testing standpoint, in terms of getting 4.0 ready to go live, we're going to be in a lot better position. Like this information to me was really encouraging.
Yeah, basically, whenever this tech preview goes through, it will give them what they need to know for server meshing's release. Not necessarily 4.0, but how much work they have to do on server meshing or not do in the lead up to actually releasing 4.0. Because 4.0, as much as 4.0 and server meshing are the same thing, they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
The testing for server meshing, as I think Tree mentioned a little earlier, is not about features. It's not really something that Evo can really test. They can do very specific point attacks, but that is QA's job. Like, QA can do all the testing that Evo could do on the mesh network. What they need for meshing is for just mass migration of people. They just need people, bodies to transition and to play the game.
Yeah, people and their stuff moving around from one server to another. Like, ideally, they should be having C2s full of everybody's freaking belongings. Doing, like you said, a mass migration.
One of the tests they've done.
Yeah,
I imagine just a crap ton of entities they've tried. You can do that with a headless client kind of setup.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the weird crap that players do, that at mass needs to be like, what happens when you're fighting someone and you happen to blow them up on the border? Do the particle effects like go all over? I mean, obviously, like testing on the border stuff, probably they've thought of already. But weird stuff that they haven't thought of is stuff that players somehow find a way to do.
All these features that they have on here and different things, none of these, all these things run the same way in server meshing because they were going to be on a single server. And the way the game server simulates these things will not change. All that changes with server meshing is when you are going from one server to another, on your ship or however you're moving about the game, and handing off you and the entities that are attached to you, your ship, your armor, the components in the ship, the things that are sitting on the cargo deck in the ship, the mission that you are on right now, those things have to be tested, getting shifted back and forth. And that's why it's a misnomer. People think that, oh, it's going to be the next PES. And it's like, no, PES was way more complicated. There's way more stuff going on in the background than there is of server meshing. Server meshing is just, oh, he's done playing here. He's going over here now. Here, have this.
Yeah.
Between servers.
It doesn't, even though it touches everything, it doesn't change everything.
Yeah. Let's see. So
it's like picking up a new accent to a language you already speak.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one, server FPS. Yep.
You want to go ahead?
Yep, I did. I did the last one.
All right.
The previous one. So
how can we increase the game's server FPS? So this is kind of a culmination of what we've been talking about a little bit. So this is back to the summary from Niku.
Pardon me. Sorry.
Mainly, the physics engine has to handle many entities at once. So in the question, there was also a focus on why the physics be jumpy. So he's leading with the physics has to handle many entities at once, which can reduce performance. Server meshing, among other things, will greatly help manage entities and their physical calculations or physics calculations. We've seen very good performance improvements during the last server meshing test that we just talked about. This is why I'm so excited to get in and test specifically hangar flare being placed and not jumping to the ceiling. Yes.
I woke up on Thursday and I specifically did a fresh install of SC because I knew I was going to have time Thursday evening to be a part of the test. And I got everything working again. Redid my keybinds. Got everything good to go. New location. A new spawn location. All that. And because the other thing is with the new launcher update, it got borked, so I had to just I couldn't log into the launcher, so I had to start from scratch. And then the tech preview got canceled, and I was like, God dang it! I set aside time because I really wanted to be able to report on this on Saturday and talk about my experience, and it didn't happen. So next time.
And they're still running into a couple bugs that they can't release it out yet. So sometime this next week, for sure. There's also plenty of optimizations that can help in this regard, but server meshing is going to be a real game changer for balancing server load and increasing server FPS. So the other plenty of optimizations he mentioned is obviously physics calculations and helping optimize the physics engine and physics calculations on that end and optimizing items for physics. But one of the big things he mentioned is asset optimization, or basically reworking an item or ship to
an item or a ship or a process. Because if a process generates too many physics calculations that aren't needed, or too detailed a physics calculation, those things will create a bottleneck. Especially if, it can be a lot of different things, but especially if a lot of people are doing it, it can bog things down.
Yeah. So basically, anything that can be optimized, optimize it. Any improvement will improve everything. Kind of how game optimization works.
But that will come back to the gameplay teams after server meshing is implemented to be like, okay, we've got server meshing implemented, and that they talked about the monitoring, their sort of radar system. With the new system, they are going to be able to
radar. Oh, that's not what they're not talking about.
Yeah, not radar and scanning on ships, but the new way that they are able to watch the data moving across the back end. They will be able to identify where these issues are with assets, with gameplay features and processes, in order to then tell those teams, be like, hey, you need to tighten this up. And that's what will be going on post 4.0 on the way to 1.0. That's how the whole game gets
lot of that.
optimized.
Also, it was also mentioned during this kind of question is that's one of the big reasons they rework so many ships or so many ships at the same time. So the original, I believe, the original Freelancer came out, and the artist that made the in-game asset decided to use the not just use as a reference, but use the original concept mesh rivet and to use that for every single rivet. So instead of like normal sane people using palms or basically a texture that has light data in it, to just fake every rivet, they modeled on hundreds of rivets onto the thing. And that's not good for FPSs, because if you're not using nanite, you have a very much fixed polygon count that you cannot go over. And for stuff like a ship, that polygon count's not too high. Like it's lower than the character, because the character needs to be visible from this close, and then your ship is, like your house. It doesn't have that many surfaces, and you're not really looking at it that close.
So we won't be getting big optimizations on the content side, from the gameplay.
Well, it
content
depends
teams.
if they find them.
Yeah, it depends on how quickly they find them. But that won't be the way we'll get more FPS is by getting server meshing. The way we'll get consistently high FPS is by them going to continue to optimize server meshing, but also taking this data back to the other teams and be like, hey, optimize your shit. And finding where those points are, and it will make it a more consistent performance level for us, but it's also a way for over time for CIG to save money. Yeah. Because if they are able to optimize all this stuff, that means that a single server can simulate more of the game space and more of what's going on. They don't have to divide it into two servers and then pay more money.
Yeah. There is always the possibility that they find some process or some overlooked piece of geometry somewhere or game logic that they have found a new way of doing, a better optimized way of doing, or something that they did wrong, or a bug that popped up and was causing optimization issues. One of the things from the physics engine that they talked about in CitizenCon last year was how they're now calculating the physics differently. One, they're able to do it at 120 frames or something, some stupid like high FPS, but only talk to the server when the server wants to, and also using the differential cone, I forget what they called it, or the differential cylinders being small at one end and larger at the other, also helps with the speed of the calculations. And stuff like that doesn't come along every day, but when they find those solutions, because the entire game industry is working on these problems. So when devs go to like Gamescom or PAX or something, like they'll talk to other developers and they'll see how they're doing it. They'll see live streams and papers that are published by other game developers talking about these things. Optimization is one of those things that is the entire games industry doing at the same time, and they're all helping each other out. And it's a wonderful thing.
So now we're just going to read through a few things that were leaked from Spectrum Chat. So for Evocati.
Oh, we got one more.
Do we? Oh,
yeah.
We don't need to talk about item recovery. That's not server meshing related.
As a footnote, the unique item recovery was planned to come out in 324. It didn't make it. I imagine that he said Benoit also said that was one of the biggest reasons for the item banks as a feature. So hopefully we get item banks UI back and unique item recovery sooner rather than later, now that they've already tried to put it in once. But we don't know exactly where it is, so whatever the next major patch is, I would imagine.
So the first round of messages involved Wikipedia, who if you follow the ETF chat and the way that gets leaked and stuff, Waka is always in there talking to ETF. Waka posts all the patch notes for Evo and stuff.
That's nice music.
Yep. We actually tested hold on, I'm gonna pull up the dates that this stuff was posted, so
Okay.
I'm giving good context. So this was posted on the 3rd. So Waka says we actually tested RMQ on almost every single 3.24 PTU since that post. Post and going live, and got quite a good amount of data to keep improving it. So they've continued to iterate on it. You know, the fact that the turnaround on the RMQ thing is really great. And then Balt, who is Benoit, says we will be testing meshing with the RMQ. That's the point. 50% of you are already on RMQ on live. You just don't know it. And yeah, and Evo's like, well, we know, and he's like, yeah, I know, you know. But then he talked about that in the SCL, saying how live started out like 10% RMQ, and then they've been bumping it up to more and more of the shards are using RMQ as they are spun up and spun down, or spun down and spun up, in order to get more and more data about RMQ and continue to refine it. So that's very encouraging. Do you want to read the next group?
I don't. Is also from ETF chat.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so the second part after it says Balt is Benoit, CTO of CIG.
Yeah. I just confirming that this is still from the ETF chat.
Yep.
So it was said that no pyro is in this current plan for the tech preview. All 800 players in Stanton. Also, they may go for 1024 players just for funsies. Basically, they want to see where it cracks, and they want to see where it cracks in not only extreme ways and like just absolutely they know it's going to break. They just need to record how, but also where does it crack, but it's playable, because that's where they will probably want to land for a while and get a lot of the data, because showing the cracks is a big part of optimizing a game. I want to see a 1024 server. That in Stanton alone, that'd be great. Oh, that'd be so good. The amount of life that would happen.
Now that's for a shard. Now remind everybody, if they are able to get 400 players onto a Stanton only shard, if they go with that player limit, because it's what they're testing is how many connections a single replicant, a single version of the replication layer can handle, and that's player connections, but also server connections. And so if that works for Stanton, what they would do is they would do 800 players per shard across Stanton and Pyro, and same number of servers, probably, because they do have to worry about absolute concentration as well. The interesting part of that to me is when they got up to about between 600 and 800 players on the previous tests, that's when things started to unravel. And so they are starting out this next test at the top end of that, after having made a bunch of improvements both on the server meshing aspect, but also adding in RMQ and optimizing that.
Wasn't
So
the 100 also between two systems?
I think they did it for both.
Interesting. Okay.
I can't. I'd have to go back and watch the 10#42 videos regarding
I just really
the
want to
configurations.
see the life that 800 to over 1,000 players in one system feels like, because that's gonna feel cool.
Yeah.
Next little bit. Sorry.
They have talked about wanting to be able to get 1,000 people on a single planet, not all on the same location on the planet, like in a landing zone, but 1,000 people on a single planet, which would mean
so they want 1,000 people
thousands.
per server on shard.
Yeah, that's essentially what they're going for. Is they want they
I'm
basically want to be able to they basically want to be able to say a single dedicated game server can simulate 1,000 people across a given entity zone.
That, I mean, even especially when they reach dynamic, and especially dynamic 2, it makes a lot of sense, because how you can like shrink down an instance. Let's say not ISC, there goes the name again. IE. You can instance the hall, the chip hall, So you could
Everything
have
that is separated by elevators.
So you could definitely have like mitigations for absolute concentration when they're holding a big event, but still have that
Bingo.
1,000, like 3,000 people in Stanton alone. But as they concentrate, one, you subdivide all of these things, and basically you just have that one landing zone per server, and then you can even stack the building interiors. You can stack the event hall, and if they're going there, they're probably going to be in the event hall a lot. So there's a
Yep.
lot of mitigating that they can do with this instant tech plus server meshing tech or dynamic server meshing.
It would use the same logic that dictates which shard are you going to join based off of like your party and your friends and stuff. And so if you're in a party and you're going to your friends are already at the expo, well, when you go into the elevator, it's going to pop you into the same instance of the expo as your friends, your friends, your party members, and such. Would it break a little bit of immersion? Oh, okay, well, I'm over here, and we just met and stuff, and I don't see you. Oh, you must be in a different instance. You could do the R_display info, and you're in a different entity's own instance. But then you could just go back to the main hall, party up, and then go in together, and you'd be in the same instance.
Yep, there's definitely things they could do.
Yeah.
Also from Evo Chat, Evo Kari, will we get an up-to-date Q&A about server meshing, replication layer, and perhaps RMQ sometime in the future? Wintermute CIG is possible, but then 4.0 isn't all that far away, and we do prefer to show rather than tell.
To me, this says that they want to do like a tech preview or two, and then go to
Yeah.
Evo.
So,
Because this is Evo chat. So, like...
Yeah. Yeah, and this is specifically about a Q&A post. We just had Benoit basically do a QA on server meshing. The real big like things they talked about. And they much rather just have an ISC or an SCL basically on 4.0 and just kind of move on. Like, we're here. There's not a whole bunch. Like, what would they put in the Q&A?
Yeah. It wouldn't be all that useful because it's like, well, we're going to show you in a matter of weeks or so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Just like
what we're talking about. So they've talked about with dynamic server meshing, they want to be able to get to the point where they could have 1,000 people on a planet. But currently, what they're testing right now is a shard, which is a configure for CIG's purposes. A shard is a single configuration of server meshing with however many dedicated game servers simulating one version of the Star Citizen universe tied to a single replication layer, which is a replicant. So, yeah, shard, not chart. So if they get to the point where now I think they'll test up to a certain point, and then for live they'll back it off a little bit. So if the test for 800 goes well, and they're like, okay, let's test to 1,000, and 1,000's like, yeah, it's pushing it, then they'll do a configuration of 800. But it would be 800 people in a single shard, or a shard with an up to 800 player count that would get spun up as soon as someone logs in. One person logging in, to create a new shard would spawn, 8 servers, 1 replicant, to simulate all of Stanton and Pyro, and that shard would be able to handle up to 800 people. And as soon as the 801st person logs in, another shard would spin up. And that's the issue. That's one of the things that a lot of people get confused about is the way that CIG talks about servers and shards is a bit different than other games have done it, but it's because of the way that they have things configured. I guess I hope that clears that
not
up.
to my knowledge. Most shards are copies of the world in a mesh of servers. And I think the only difference is I don't know how other MMOs do spin ups. because they have to make more servers when traffic is high, and they have to shut them down, otherwise burn money when server loads are low. So I don't think how the shard works. I just think the setup for this iteration of meshing, this kind of live server mesh, I think that is the most biggest thing. But a shard is a shard. Most of the time, they're all the same as far as terminology goes. And definitely not a shard either, because it's a pottery.
Okay, and the last one is just a reminder for everybody. The data from the last large test was one of the major reasons we prioritized work on RMQ. They got really good data. So they really said they got really good data saying, hey, server meshing really works. It works really well, except we have these bottlenecks with the NMQ. And so we're going to update it to the new hotness, the RMQ, and then we're going to test it. And once we've tested it, then we're going to roll it out to Evo. So they're letting everybody know how important the data they get from the tech preview tests and the amount of people who participate in those tests is. So that is it for
the preamble.
The news on server meshing. And hopefully we'll have more news next week because I kind of want to do this as we go on until 4.0 goes live, or at least until we stop getting updates and it's in P2 or whatever. So like the next podcast, pardon me. If we've gotten our tech preview test by then, I'm hoping Naz, one and or both of us will get to participate and we can talk about our experience, but then also anything that CIG reports back to us. So now we're going to launch into the monthly reports, and hopefully this we're going to try and keep this moving along. I think it's a good thing that the squadron reports are shorter now than they used to be. So this can go a little bit faster. But so let's launch into the August monthly reports for Squadron 40 for Star Citizen and Squadron 42.
Love that image. Hate that it's nasty, but love the image.
It's really well done. I think this is probably either. I wonder if this is one of the asteroid facilities or asteroid bases.
Yeah, I think so. We've also seen those stairs before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were the asset. They were using to show off the gravity being able to be turned off.
Yep.
All right, so another header we got. Welcome to the August PU monthly report with the recent Alpha 3.2 Cargo Empires. Most development teams spent the month both finalizing patch task and progressing with exciting new features coming further down the road. Read on for all the details. Gosh dang. And then the squadron side for the header is welcome to August Squadron 42 development report. Enclosed, you will find detailed on the latest progress made across the campaign, including mocap updates, refined behaviors, and additional narrative content. Thank you for your continued support of Squadron 42. Sincerely, CIG Communications. And you have AI features, and it actually worked out pretty well. I have core gameplay, so I read the long one, but I also have graphic stuff, which is the engine stuff. Also got online technology.
Speaking
I believe
of
you also
graphics
got
and engine stuff, I haven't had a chance to
team and community.
I haven't had a chance to follow up on them, but one of the devs who works on Vulcan has been doing lots of replies on Spectrum, and so I have to go back and read those.
Allie? Was it Brown?
Yeah, Allie Brown. Yep. I think it was Allie Brown and Ben Perry were both talking, or
yes,
maybe it was
they were.
So I read a couple of them. I had been hoping
4.0
that
should be like the lockdown on Vulcan.
Yeah, lockdown on Vulcan. We're a ways out for ray tracing global illumination because they are still finalizing that for Squadron, and then they'll push it to the PU.
Not only are they still finalizing it, but there are some like big things it still doesn't know to look at, like the ground of planets.
Yeah,
It doesn't take into account the ground. Like the ray tracing system doesn't see the ground yet.
Yeah, the rays just go on forever through the planet's surface.
Do not reflect.
Yep. So, AI features for Star Citizen, August 2024. Last month, AI features polished various reactions, including the first reactions when AIs respond to audio or visual events. While these behaviors had a solid base, various combat styles, weapons, and scenarios didn't play consistently, such as when escalating from a low reaction to a high reaction. To improve this, the team built a new AI test level called a test cell. This is a building block setup with different character types, weapons, cover, usables, etc., that allows the team to pick and mix different setups to produce a consistent version of test scenarios. A particular combination can be exported as one cell and imported into a single level where multiple test scenarios can be played simultaneously, allowing the team to quickly identify mistakes, fix them, and retest. The test cell level is also being used for cover hit reactions, which have different animation setups per cover type, combat style, and weapon type. Going forward, the test cell will be expanded to provide more consistency across a wide range of areas.
Okay, and I didn't check, so the second half of the squadron is also copied over. So that's in the second half of the squadron side as well.
This part.
There is.
Okay.
Is. You gotta read it.
What?
You gonna read it?
Oh, yep. Sorry, that's me. I was thinking of switching over to you.
No, you still got the squadron side.
Yep. Sorry. So AI features on the Squadron 42 side. Throughout August, AI features focused on polishing existing functionality to improve level flow. For example, polishing. During buddy sections where players are aided by AI characters, the team increased and improved the control mechanisms available to the designers so that they can increase situational awareness. This means that AI characters no longer automatically crouch and draw a weapon when enemies are nearby. This is now a behavior that's controllable by a designer who can determine the best place for this to occur. A new follow along path task was added alongside the lead along path task, allowing the designer to guide AI while simultaneously keeping up with the player. They're also improving tech to control when the buddy joins in combat to provide more level specific situational awareness.
I think somebody in CAG has heard somebody outside of CAG. What that last little bit means is AI moving at the correct speed, whether they're leading you or following you.
Mm-hmm.
Which means no more NPCs walking 1% faster or slower than the player. Not quite run, but not quite walk either. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. A common gripe for different games.
Buddies.
Pardon me. Sorry. Back to you for AI tech on the PU side.
Yes. So, Star Citizen AI tech continued to improve how NPCs transition between servers, aka server meshing, including serializing movement requests on the navigation paths. They also updated navigation generation elements, including one related to computing navigation islands and used when exporting processes into object containers. Progress was also made on converting the Apollo Tools UI style, and new features continue development too, which the team will share more about in the future. And everyone knows in the future currently means sysing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I know, right? And then on the squadron side, wait for you to switch over. Okay,
I did.
remember I'm on the delay, so I don't know when you switch over.
Yep.
Alongside the small improvements and bug fixes, AI tech worked on editor functionality to allow designers to schedule game tags and to assign action areas directly to NPCs. Secondly, they worked on the subscription tasks flow graph node to enable or disable navigation cost areas and modify their cost. Dude walk through fire because he don't care. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
So, at what point
Pardon me. Sorry.
do navigation areas cross a? I mean, I know it's like it'll be more needed for like the dynamic server meshing, but currently, where can an NPC transition a server?
Well, I mean, right now they can't.
Well, I know that's what they're working on, but like, where would they need to? Even if we did per each planet and moon,
Yeah.
a new server, all the like engagements, like around Yella, they stay around Yella, and they don't go to the ground. Is there some other thing that we don't know about that has travel? Well, I mean,
Well,
Sim.
and even Star Sim, like, because that isn't happening on the DGS. Once they stop being subsumption.
The ephemeralness, so their travel is ephemeral. So
Yeah.
I like it. It's a nice tool to have, but like, where are they using? When do they come to the conclusion they need NPC? Well, NPC crew will need eventually. That's nowhere near,
Yeah.
but interesting, very interesting. All right, back to you for the AI Social Strike Team. This is a specific squadron-related team.
Yeah, and remember the Squadron 42 people have been divided up into strike teams. There's social and
3 content.
right. Yeah, there's three different teams. I forget. It's one social, one's flight.
There's 3 content, and then there's the social team.
Per
the.
okay.
They may have changed because last time you're right. We did hear on the previous progress tracker. You can check the
social
ZR
strike
probably.
team, and then there's 3 chapter strike teams, even though it's 0,
content.
1, and 2. Why they didn't go 1, 2, and 3, I don't know. Europeans.
Yeah. Previously, they did have a flight, an FPS, a social, all strike teams. So I don't know if it's simplified for us cavemen out here, or that's just a new kind of faster, agile workflow.
I think that this is indicative of they are polishing chapters. They're not that they are getting to content complete by polishing chapters because they are now feature complete.
Yeah, so like even if we look back at the walking NPCs, that is such a very specific thing, and it doesn't just apply to one scenario. So it's really specific things they're polishing right now. So far. And they're working on tools. The reason they're still working on tools for Squadron, like subsumption tasks, workflow, and Apollo and things, is because they still have a second, third game to Squadron. They still need to make sure that they can reproduce at a pretty good clip after Squadron's out the door.
Yeah. Okay, so AI Social Strike Team. The AI Social Strike Team spent part of August refining idle animations for desk workers. This work adds greater variety to the NPCs seated at consoles, significantly reducing noticeable repetition when multiple characters are positioned next to each other. Yeah, that would look really awkward if they're like all in sync or something. They then expanded the advanced animation set used for repairing and inspecting the Gladius and Hornet. Looking forward to seeing that. That'll be cool to watch. These more advanced and realistic animations move away from basic motions, adding depth and believability to the repair and inspection activities. Continuing from last month, the devs made significant progress refining various interactions throughout the game. As part of this, numerous non-essential interactions were removed to prevent confusion about what can and should be interacted with. This clear This clear delineation ensures that when something is interactable, it serves a meaningful gameplay purpose. This step is crucial to maintaining intuitive game mechanics and enhancing the overall player experience. Work was also done to improve the cargo handling AI. For example, the utility behavior for AI involved in cargo handling was updated to allow multiple AI characters not using trolleys to move cargo from the same pickup location to the same drop-off area. Previously, only one AI character could perform this action at a time. That would be inefficient. Previously, only one AI character, resulting in an illogical sequence of events. With this new update, cargo movement now appears more realistic and dynamic, adding a layer of authenticity to the environment. It would be so cool to see that moved into the PU. Like, this is now your auto loading.
I feel like the in parentheses not using trolleys is signaling.
Yeah.
Maybe using an Atlas.
Could be. Yep. Especially because the mechs were built for Squadron first. Question is, does Squadron use the Atlas or does it only use the Titan?
I
But
still say
using the Atlas,
it was
using an
Squadron.
Atlas for cargo loading, for especially like, within a Javelin or a Bengal, like, yeah.
Or in Shubin.
Yeah. Following an art pass on cargo in the Shubin location, the Cav vehicle's AI was What?
What?
What is a Cav vehicle? The Cav vehicle's AI was repathed. It was repathed. This update ensures that the vehicle's movements align perfectly with the new cargo layout. Finally, for social AI, numerous smaller bug fixes and improvements were made across the campaign. Danger Hobo, no, I haven't talked about Space Marine 2 yet. I did get a chance. So that was the coin toss. If the tech preview happened, I was going to play the tech preview on Thursday. But because it didn't happen, I played Space Marine 2 for a couple hours. And I mean, I didn't get super far, but I did have a lot of fun. I am not good at games where there are combos you have to memorize and execute. I'm more of just a button smasher and hope for the best. So I really, especially because like the tutorial goes kind of quick and the combo isn't up on the screen for long enough for me to be able to remember it, and there's so many of them. And my brain just doesn't work like that. So whereas I've been playing a lot of Star Wars Outlaws, and I'm getting really good at sneaking around and using my as Morphologist called it, my Kleptocat Nyx,
Nice.
to do stuff. Yeah, you can chain together between you sneaking around and using Nyx. You can chain together things in order to move through the environment undetected and take out enemies or get the things that you want so quickly once you get a hang of it, and so efficiently. It looks really cool.
We are going to get pets in Star Citizen eventually.
Yeah. And I want a company to make a plushy version of Nyx from Star Wars Outlaws, because my kid was watching me play.
I can't imagine that's not there yet.
Yeah. My kid was watching me play it, and he thought that it was the best thing ever. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, I have to get him one because he has a Pico, he has a Finley the Stormwall, and I need to get him a Nyx, a Kleptocat. But yeah.
Where's Discord? There's Discord.
Oh,
there you go.
Is it already a thing?
It's already a thing, bud.
It's already a thing. Well,
no way they were going to like pass up that. Star Wars Disney is merchandising king.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No freaking way.
Order that tomorrow.
So I looked up Cav. Cav vehicle is redundant. Because Cav, at least the predominant definition that I'm seeing, is connected and autonomous vehicle.
autonomous.
Autonomousness.
Huh. Interesting.
Connected and automated vehicle. Yep. Is predominantly what I'm seeing.
Okay. I'm not sure what to make of that. An autonomous cargo.
We have them in Orison.
Or are you talking about the Atlas ferry thing?
No, the so you know the old not old the trolleys we were supposed to get, the hover carts for
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there's an autonomous one in Orison that moves around next to the Kovlex Center. That is a cav. According to the definition.
Look at it.
So it just kind of moves around the track, and yes, you can get hit by it. And yes, it doesn't like if you stand on it.
My shins. All right, back to you for AI content on the Star Citizen side.
AI content Star Citizen. In August, the social AI designers joined the narrative team for a larger group focused on improving the Star Citizen experience. Too many things with star in the name. Freaking crap. As part of this, they began meeting with design and creative directors to walk through various locations, looking for opportunities to clean up existing behaviors and add new ones. While many of the behaviors will be based on work done for Squadron 42, the extensive nature of the PU will require bespoke additions. AI content also is also in the process of reviewing locations throughout Pyro, ensuring the environment and behavior setups work correctly together and instill a sense of the intended narrative. The team also met with the designers of an upcoming mission to provide support for some of the locations that will be visited by players, including applying believable behaviors to NPCs. Aside from outlining behavior improvements and the needs of Star Citizen 1.0, narrative design kicked off several initiatives to determine the required tech and the use cases for future social spaces. This will ultimately lead to a vertical slice showing a gold standard social space with the level of interaction the game will aim for. I am super excited that they're doing that. So we've always been fed for as long as this project has been up. This Star Wars level of kind of a landing zone where you land your ship and there's the dock workers that are there like ready to pester you if you want your ship fixed up or fueled up or whatever, and you know they're milling about the landing pad or landing hangar or whatever, and then you go into the lobby and there's these, you know, there's pilots in the lobby and there's the people waiting to get on their car transport ship. And you go out into landing zone, and all these NPCs are like saying these different lines of these background voices. And you go out, and you see someone getting shaken down, somebody getting shook down. And you have just little stories, like little just throwaway stories, just in the behaviors of them. We've always been sold that kind of idea for landing zones or social spaces, basically spaces where.
If you want to know what he's talking about, go play Star Wars Outlaws. That is one thing.
And I haven't played it. I've just that's a Star Wars thing. That is how all the Star Wars. Go watch the movies. It's how it works in the shows. I mean, Andor's a lot like that too.
Really crushed that. They absolutely nailed it.
And so Star Citizen wants to take that, not only apply that kind of thing, but also make it dynamic. They were talking about this a couple months ago, for the I forget what they called it. But basically a speech system that can react to the environment. And if they're like IEs going on, you can have them talking about, oh, did you see the new ship at IE from X developer? Or if like Siege Orison going on, some Orison people, I'm really concerned with like Ninetales coming in, and what does that mean for like jobs and things? Like, lines that can react to the stuff going on in the world. And so that gold standard, we will watch your career with
great interest.
Great interest. Yes, I want to see this. I want to see this as soon as possible. Unfortunately, this is not a soon thing. Obviously, Squadron first. They're still outlining what they need for Star Citizen 1.0, and it won't be till after they get the tech they need that they'll be designing this gold standard vertical slice. And who wants to vote or who wants to bet it's gonna be in freaking ArcCorp?
Yeah.
It's always
Let's see.
so
So
they're stealing germs. No, they're blowing up your germs. Slightly different.
back to me for the AI Game Intelligence Development Team. Boy, that's a mouthful. In August,
what
the
that just
game.
means- Sorry. What that just means is AI is used as a term for both AI art generation, kind of AI LLMs, and also NPCs in general. The reason they call it AI Game Development Division is the AI decision making, not quite LLM, not quite just an NPC, but it's the code that runs the decision making of the NPCs in the game. Kind of differentiate it between all the other terms for AI.
In August, the Game Intelligence Development Team concentrated on delivering a clean and stable Apollo StarScript UX update. This involved adding support for higher icon resolution so they stay sharp when zoomed in, and straightening lines for a clearer read. TPS query, TPS reports. Drag and drop was improved too. Now, when hovering, ports with a bigger selection range are highlighted. The devs corrected the color and size of imported notes, added arrowheads to links leading to closed groups, and enlarging the hovering area and highlights on links and ports. Drop points were also added to links to identify the desired select line. So they worked on the Apollo subsumption or Apollo StarScript UI. So the tool that they use for building AI behaviors. Yep.
Yeah. All nice and shiny.
That's only on the PU side. So back to you for animation on.
It was copied on the other side. I just am bad at doing my job apparently. Animation Star Citizen. August saw the official animation team developing content to flesh out. I almost saw that said fish. Flesh out more of the game world's characters. Interesting. Specifically characters. It didn't say creatures. When they're working on creatures, it specifically says creatures. Gameplay animation continued to work on selection of creatures previously seen in teaser videos alongside improvements or improving the creatures already in the PU. They also progressed with an unannounced addition that the team's looking forward to seeing in game. Weren't we getting a? No, who was it that talked about? What are the official things talked about? The things coming soon. That might be just down here somewhere.
So that's the thing is they say.
Well, yeah, we're getting the Cosmic Graders. That's on the map, but somewhere I think it's actually in here somewhere. Talked about features of the things we're getting, and they said big furry thing.
Yeah,
AKA Border Stalker.
Yep. But they say to work on a selection of creatures previously seen in teaser videos.
Where?
Alongside improving the creatures already in the PU. So the teaser video ones are not the Marak and the Copion. They're things we have seen before. So to me, that means that they are working on the the floating trash bags, the what is it? The Oni crabs? The Oni crabs.
Boil Stalker, Oni crab, Boil Stalker.
I mean,
Oni
we
crab,
haven't
Cosmic
gotten
Grazer,
the Boreal Stalker in a
Whip crab.
teaser video, but we have gotten the fact that they said a selection of creatures previously seen in teaser videos. It's things we've seen in video before.
I mean, we've seen the Boreal Stalker in ISC as teasers of upcoming animals.
I guess that could potentially work. Yeah.
Some of Paul's weasel words.
Yeah. That could include the they showed we don't have the Stormwall in game yet, but it was
Stormwall. That's true. We still have
engine.
Stormwall to go.
Yeah, it was in the engine video.
Which means they have animations already submitted for them, so
Mm-hmm.
couldn't be too far away.
But the unannounced edition, to me, that's something that we don't know about at all. You know,
Yeah,
not
I
not just
imagine
something that isn't on
unannounced.
the. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine unannounced in this case is a lot like how they do ships. If they've said the name, they would put the name in. If they haven't said the name, it's an unannounced. So
The
we know
team is
Stormwind, we know
looking forward
Honeycrab,
to
we know
seeing in
Whipcrab.
game. Hmm.
Yep. What are they cooking up to kill us?
Yeah.
And is it freaking spiders?
Do
Do you know how much less space exploration I'm gonna be doing when they freaking add spiders to the game? Just like CIG. My one request, if you must add spiders, which you already said you're going to, make it the same update you give me a flamethrower. That is all I ask. Oh, could you imagine somebody capturing a giant spider and putting it in somebody's house?
Oh dear God.
Oh, my arachnophobia is already going off. All right, on the squadron side. God dang. Ah, man. I lit up my nerves. Now they're not okay. Oh, God. Sorry. Even thinking of spiders makes my arachnophobia jump. My nerves get not okay. The gameplay animation team worked on zero gravity movement on surfaces, weapon first select and overheats, improved pickups, scene-specific player interactions, and numerous background animations for life around a key location. Significant progress was also made on a number of human enemy types. On the mocap side, the team supported gameplay and story needs with capture shoots and solved data, which is basically processed mocap. They also supported the mocap team so they can be more efficient and knowledgeable in future shoots. The gameplay team the gameplay and gameplay animation teams then joined force to use their experience in retargeting to get faster traction on some upcoming asset sets. The team are currently working on the final facial animation solved for Squadron 42 before pivoting to fleshing out background AI and improving high-profile story scenes. This team is currently final facial animations. Basically, that is probably the last part of cinematics that they're going to work on, and then it's all playable scenes. Crabs are freaking laser. Freaking laser crabs.
Laser
Spiders in
crabs.
Skyrim ruined me. Oh man. I was walking through Walmart, and of course they had the Halloween stuff up, and they had spider plushy things that just were not okay to walk next to. Like I saw them from like good 10 feet out. I had to walk on the other side of the aisle. It was not okay. Like all I saw was like a really fuzzy leg of a spider. Just like, nope, absolutely not. And that's actually where I had to stop watching the SCL. I think it was what was it before SCL? Whatever it was before SCL. Where they were doing the game dev where they were drawing the spider creature. I'm like, okay, the body, okay, I can see that, the head, okay. The second they did the first like paint swipe for the leg, I'm like, nope, I'm out. I can't. Not a thing. Not a thing. So apparently something in the shape of the leg is just hits my irrational fear just like in the gut. And like I hate that I know it's an irrational fear. It just does not make any sense. God's greatest architects are spiders, just like ugh. Okay. I'm gonna go and get a drink while it's gonna be a 3-second thing, but character art, go.
Okay. Character art continued working on utility and specialist armors. Looking forward to seeing those. Give me a medic set. While character concept art supported IAE and progressed with their ongoing exploration of fauna. I do hope that they will give us an update of fauna that they're working on to include lore, like a combination ISC would be really cool, where they have the character art and they show maybe some block out animations, but then they also talk about like the lore that the narrative team are working on for the character or for the the fauna being animals. And he's not back yet, so ship art is really, well, I'll let him come back and do that because I'm doing community. Macton, let me know when they make the beam crab. Crabs with laser beams on their heads. Yeah, the infamous crotch spider. Let's see. Well, he's not back yet. Guess I'm gonna do ship art then. Art ships. Last month, Ship Art moved several unannounced vehicles toward their gray box reviews. Several. To me, if they're moving several, I think they're probably moving multiple variants of the same ship. But that's just me. Oh, he's back.
I'm back. Oh yeah.
Ship art for you.
Ship art. Ship art Star Citizen. It's another short one. I should just wait until we're on community. Gosh, sorry. Let's see. Last month, Ship Art moved several unannounced ships towards their gray box review, which is the end of gray box, while others approached their LOD 0 and final content reviews, which LOD 0 is their highest LOD, and then they have to make the LODs to make them down, and then final content is right before flight ready, I believe.
Yep.
Work on the RSI Polaris also continued, with the ship's exterior approaching completion. So no phase there. That's just being done.
Yeah. And I mean, it was pretty far along at Invictus Launch Week, but you could tell that it was kind of flat.
Yeah. Yep. It also had like the panel lines with that weird like dark gray highlighted on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it looks a lot.
The way it was
cohesive.
sort of skinned, it was very just sort of bland.
Yeah,
and
I hope
you could tell.
Like up close to it looks really good. That the style they had it in. So I hope when you get like that third person view kind of distance from it, it looks a bit more flatter, more simple, because it looks really noisy in the version they had at Invictus.
Well, and the material was very uniform across the ship, which is not what they do.
Yeah, it looks like a plastic shell and like a plastic molded ship.
There's a lot of unannounced vehicles being worked on. I mean, obviously we know what two of them were, one being the Peregrine and the other being the Atlas, but there's still a good amount of stuff that is unknown. Community. So in support of Alpha 324, the community team made improvements and updates to the new player and welcome back pilot guides. They also provided an update to the cargo guide alongside a Q&A for the recently released Aegis Saber Peregrine. The team also focused heavily on compiling and sharing player feedback internally. That's one thing that they've talked about that I've seen Jake talk about at length multiple times. Is a lot of what they do is they go through Spectrum and they find player threads and direct devs to those threads in either to just receive the feedback or to respond to it. That way the community manager isn't having to respond, doing the whole telephone system to feedback. The team's standout event last month was Ship Showdown 2954, with players from across the community submitting creative entries to determine which ships made it to the top. Phase 1 saw citizens submitting original creations of their favorite vehicles to the community hub and social media before the top 16 faced off in daily voting battles. After much voting, the Anvil F8C Lightning was crowned Ship Showdown Champion 2954. Yeah, deleted by Knight Rider. The community team also supported the release of a limited number of general admission 2054 tickets before connecting with the community at Gamescom 2024 in Cologne. This stop on the Bar Citizen Tour brought together players for an unforgettable experience, including a treasure hunt, prizes, and 2 Bar Citizen events. Later in August, the team met with more fans in Seattle at PAX West during another Bar Citizen event at Stoop Brewing. Pardon me. Looking ahead, we're excited to meet even more Citizen players in Marina Grande, Portugal, and during TwitchCon US in California community team. The progress tracker was also updated with the latest production schedule through 2024. It introduces a significant shift in how deliverables are tracked while maintaining transparency throughout the year. Further updates, including 2025, will soon follow. I imagine we're going to get more 2024 updates before CitizenCon, but I think that 2025, we're not going to have to wait until January to see 2025 updates, or at least to see them start rolling out. I think we're going to get a progress tracker update at CitizenCon for 2025. Given
or at least the update cadence right after CitizenCon.
Yeah, and 1.0 related stuff. While with CitizenCon 2954 coming in October, the team spent much of August gearing up for the event, including setting up the venue layout, preparing community booths, and more. Back to Naz for core gameplay. This one's long, and so I'm going to go grab myself an ice cream sandwich.
So there is ice cream!
Yes.
You lied! Alright, engaging Nazri's long one. Core gameplay, Star Citizen. Throughout August, the various gameplay featured teams continued to improve the hangar and cargo flows for Alpha 3.24 based on feedback from the BTU. Meanwhile, a lot of behind-the-scenes changes progressed that will improve how various gameplay systems handle environments that span multiple servers. Progress was made on the overheat mechanic, with core gameplay adding support for different atmospheric temperatures. For example, weapons will overheat at different rates based on their environment. So, hot plants, it will overheat faster, cold plants will overheat slower. Charge and drain progress 2, and now feature client-side prediction to give immediate feedback to the player when they're charging or draining. Even if there's latency between the client and server, the team, or even if there is a latency between the client and server. The team began adding logic to declutter the UI by grouping markers of the same type while implementation of weapon groups and group preset continued. August saw continued progress on jump points, which began with improved debugging tools to better visualize potential exit points for players. Turbulence was also implemented, so shakes the ship now makes it hard to actually stay on course, which will affect the flight experience within the tunnel. The designers are currently tweaking the strength to get the desired impact. Remember, we only have the one jump point in this next up, so whenever they talk about desired impact, it's desired impact of this one. They'll have to tweak it for each individual desired effect. And with transient ones, well, probably transient ones will also be designed and plays. I highly doubt we're ever get, at least not anywhere in the known future, going to get random planet or random systems and randomly generated jump points. Visual effects were added too, including cockpit vibrations based on where in the tunnel the player is located, and obstacles were placed that players will be required to navigate around. Further, failure states for jump point tunnels were determined before the feature was submitted for QA testing. Progress was then made on the resource network, engineering gameplay, and life support. For example, core gameplay implemented a new behavior for critical components, which will replace the existing soft death mechanic. When live, only certain items, like power plants, will trigger explosions or soft death when destroyed.
Yes. I'm so excited for this.
I do hope that means we are going to get 100% soft death chance, and your ship will just be damaged until it is soft death.
Yep.
And hopefully soft death also still means, I'm really hoping, like, my only hope for the resource network, after all we know, because we know most of it, so my only still unknown hope thing is that no ship is beyond repair. That is my biggest hope.
Until it goes kaboom.
No. I want even a kaboomed ship to be able to cart it back as a husk back to the repair place, and to be completely rebuilt.
I don't think that is a reasonable expectation if a ship is blown into multiple pieces and complete kaboom.
Depends on the size of the pieces.
I don't think we're ever going to get that.
I want 100% soft death.
But
The engineering screen...
Definitely 100% soft death, because like the way they're describing it, you shouldn't, unless someone specifically is targeting a critical component, you should soft death first, and then
Well, it says you only get a soft death if they hit a thing like a power plant, which will replace soft death when live. Only certain items, like the power plant, will trigger explosion or soft death.
Okay. So, well, yeah, it's one or the other. So certain components can trigger a soft death.
Okay.
Certain ones can trigger an explosion. But like,
so the chances of exploding or soft death are still there.
mm-hmm.
Okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense. So still not 100% soft death. Never mind.
But there's still a chance of not soft death if you go kaboom. But I feel like it would be a lot less, and because say it's only the power plant, or but what I really want to see is a chain of events where, okay, you didn't take out the power plant, but you take out the cooler.
Mm-hmm. And now
you've got to run
power
away.
Power plant's starting to overheat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you don't shut off your power plant, which means you have no more power, you're operating off of batteries, so you have to make this choice. Okay, well, how long do I have before we go kaboom?
Power plant subvert it going critical and exploding.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can say, hey, I'm going to probably die, but the power plant's going to overload, so I'm dead anyway. Let's take the chance, shut down the power plant, shut down the ship, and let's try it hand to hand.
Yeah.
You want my stuff? Come get it.
Yeah, you want my stuff? Come get it. Or maybe you don't want to fight it out, and you're like, okay, because you'll still have power, and you can still lock the doors, and you can say, all right, I'm opening the cargo bay door. You can take my cargo and just leave me alone, and then somebody can come because the biggest thing like I want is to allow for rescue. And not only to be able to recover your ship from soft death, but if you don't have the means to repair your ship there, okay, I want somebody to be able to come pick you up and take you back to a station, or what have you. Particularly
Pick
like
up you, tow the ship, bring things to replace things. In the ship.
Give you more options, but at least with this and with resource management, because right now like soft death is. It happens often enough, but I feel like the time from soft death to then going kablooey is a bit too short in a lot of instances, especially with smaller ships. To where
one thing I hope they don't do is they have position mode.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they don't have component precision mode. Like you can shoot off the thrusters or the turrets, but can you like just tap, aim for power plant?
Yeah. Well, and with Maelstrom, it should be difficult to hit the power plant with it. Like the what we saw last year was an oversimplification, especially with Maelstrom coming in. You'll have to defeat the armor of Maelstrom to get to the components. It would be you're more likely to have components go offline because you've taken damage that impacts the ability for resources to move around between components than to actually lose components. But that's a further iteration.
Moving on, the engineering screen was polished, while a new room selection UI was added for life support. That's very good. The team also gave design the ability to control the total power output of multiple active powered plants. This way, more power plants don't necessarily result in linear increase power production. Significant time was dedicated to fixing stability issues and bugs following QA testing. Are there ships with multiple power plants?
Yes.
Know any?
I'm pretty sure.
Because even the C, even the C2 has one.
I'm pretty
Is
sure they
it
are.
specifically just bigger ships? That bigger than the thing?
I could have sworn.
Let's see. The Saber's supposed to be redundant, right? Saber's supposed to have lots of redundancies.
That might
Saber,
also
Saber.
might not be. It
I'll
might not be necessarily
drive.
ship related.
Yes, the Saber has two power plants.
Yeah.
I swear I remember two power plants. Yeah, so the Saber does have two power plants. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have 2 times the amount of power,
Mm-hmm.
which will give DPS calculator a run for its data. Because you can't just say 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah. You also run into the issue of power transmission. You have power generation, but power transmission.
Mm-hmm. Basically, they're gauging the wires between power
Mm-hmm.
plants and
Yeah.
Relays.
What your
All
actual
right.
throughput can be.
Right. Cool. July's work on radar and scanning continued throughout August, with the team reviewing it in Radar Commander, which is very strange. What are you scanning and radaring in there? And do we get an experimental mode, mostly? To assess the impact on the player experience and tune values to achieve the desired effect. Remember, scanning is supposed to be out till quantum travel range. So, very interesting.
And it's not on the
Awesome.
release view.
Interesting. Now, you remember when they said that it's supposed to be out of quantum travel range? That's Citizen, right?
I'd have to go back and hear the context, but I'll trust you.
Okay. Do you think they're shortening our overall quantum travel range? Because currently our quantum travel range, depending on the ship, is the entire stand-in system.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably some context that's missing there, especially with the whole quantum boost thing and such.
Mm-hmm. So there was an interesting sentence that kind of stuck in my head from CitizenCon, specifically about scanning. Let's see. They also focused on closing out feature work for data or delta signatures. Basically, stuff can be seen and how to see them, giving design more control over how to react to changes. Tests were completed for audio signatures too. So scanning and signaling is nearing a pretty good place. I would not be shocked if it's in a 4.1.
Yeah.
Core gameplay continued supporting transit in the run-up to the live release. And run-up to the live release, that's...
I could see radar and scanning and the quantum travel experience being part of 4.1 in December, and that's just a content patch on the same 4.0 branch. You know, a 316 is on the same branch as 315. It's just content.
I mean, everything's a 4.0 branch currently, so...
Yeah, 324, Well, 4.0
I mean,
versus,
I'm not...
not
that
creating
hopeful.
a new dev branch, but...
Yeah. No, I think it's possible. I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket. I'm going to say 4.1 is the first patch of the year for 25. We'll see who's right.
You don't think we're going to get 4 whole numbered patches for the year?
What? Are we not at 3 already?
No. 323 was the Q1 patch. And we got 324. They're shooting for 4.0
In
right?
Q3. Oh. No, that's Q4. Because 4.0 is 4. 4.0 is Q4.
4.0
there
is
shouldn't be-
Q4, but what if we get a 4.1? That would also be in 4.0 because 323 was in May, 324 in August, 4.0 Q4 whenever, but 322 was released in December.
1, 2, 3.
We would only have 3 whole number patches. That's what I'm saying. I think that they will do a 324, for 4.0.
I still don't see it. Like I understand. I see your math. I think it's
I'm just
reasonable.
saying, when was the last
Yeah.
time we didn't get 4 full numbered patches in a year?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Last year we got 317 in April, 3 sorry. Well, I guess it would have been 2022 or 2022 we only had the 1. So that was the big drought. But last year we got 318, then 319, then 320,
And 322.
then 321, then 322. I don't know.
I think if it's coming by the end of the year, it's going to be in 4.0. Basically, is what I'm saying. I think if it's going to be, it's not 3.1 if it's coming this year.
Oh, I'm saying I think that we will get another patch in December.
Yeah.
And they'll call it a 4.1 patch with some content. Just like 316 was a 315 patch, but with content.
My 4.0.1 is IE. I don't think we're going to get 4.1.
You don't think we're going to get a December patch?
No.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all supporting 4.0 because wherever 4.0 lands is going to be it's take the win. Just take the win. Let them have their 2-week vacation that they're not going to take because they're crazy and will come back for seconds and developing on their break as they should not be. But I think we're going to get 4.0 sometime in Q4 and we're just going to get 0-point patches. And why does this keep going off? Sorry, my keyboard keeps breaking. All right, so Transit live release. I assume that's the new Transit system, hopefully. While adjusting how Transit data is stored to lower the maintenance overhead on level design. I think that's the Transit rework for 4.0.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, the team reworked the shot annunciator, so basically the thing that shows up at the top of the screen. It will turn red. Oh no, not that's shot annunciator is the arrow thing that shows up around the middle of the screen, telling you where a shot came from. There we go. Annunciator is basically notifications, or hey, look at this from the UI. Will turn red if someone's target will turn red if someone targets the player and fires their weapon. Annunciator for weapon, power, thruster, and shields were completed while overheating and off state were implemented. So those, yeah, the same spelling. Annunciators in that context is the UI stuff, basically lights on your dashboard saying if something's on or not. Very interesting that they're using the same stupid word for different pieces of the UI. Great. The ongoing mission system refactor progressed with the team fixing various issues causing existing behaviors to break or function incorrectly. Mission system now can run in minimal mode, allowing it to be included in the seeding service and upcoming mission factory service, which generates contracts. Clients can now query available missions, and the contract generator can apply legacy settings to work with previous system too. Implementation of the service beacon for the mission system refactor began, while core gameplay supported mission design on remaining blockade runner and cargo hauling issues. Developers working on cargo gameplay primarily focus on major remaining stability and gameplay issues. For example, they fixed several problems with hangar instance queues getting stuck and players being assigned the wrong hangar. Functionality was also added to the instance interior manager to better support removing non-active hangar instances. Several hauling mission bugs were solved related to the warehouse manager and freight elevator kiosk interactions. Alongside issues with the kiosk transferring items on and off the loading platform. Bugs were also fixed related to the Hull C auto-loading commodity transactions, and ship loading platforms getting broken by obstructions with the fixes set to be implemented in the near future. Finally, the core gameplay, for core gameplay, the devs spent considerable time reviewing internal and external feedback to plan further improvements to the future releases in Alpha 3.24.
So like the item bank.
So like the item bank.
Yeah. The item bank will return in the way that was intended.
With the new UI.
With the new UI. They just have to make it look how Space Tomato talked about in his video. Yeah, because I was using I played for a little bit today, and it is such a bad system to go up there and use the old UI and be in third person. It makes no sense. Like,
yep.
You know.
Make it cyan easy. Done. Yep, that's it. That's the fix. You did it.
Yeah.
Go send your application in.
Yeah.
Go work on the same DN.
For another short one, and then on to you for another long one. Not nearly as long. The economy team spent the month getting closer to uniting all their work into a cohesive economy consisting of ships, items, missions, fuel, consumables, freelancing careers, and more. Progress was also made on the economy setup for Pyro.
Basically, what that means is we're almost at the baseline that they will then work off of for Star Sim.
Yep.
And something that is also needed, not necessarily as a prerequisite, but as a nice-to-have prerequisite for crafting. Because they need to know where to get materials and what materials make up a thing. And that's part of what the economy team has been doing. Is putting like material value on chips and items and things. Alrighty. Now I have both in here. I don't know if any of the squadron stuff is also in here. It probably is, so I'm probably gonna end up reading a little bit twice. So, Star Citizen, graphics, VFX programming, and planet tech. Alongside the ongoing stability and performance improvements for Vulkan, the graphics team improved bug debug tooling for long-term health of the dev experience. For global illumination, support was added for high-gloss specular reflections, which builds on previous rough specular work. And if you remember the talk from CitizenCon, there's specular, high gloss, and not emissive. Bounce? Now, is it emissive? I don't remember the third one, but there's 3 facets of GI that they're working on, and that's what they're going with. So they have the 2 first ones down. The team also added live updates to the GPU ray tracing acceleration structure and began working on improvements to transparent objects. Performance-wise, Global Illumination System now supports both temporal and spatial subsampling to accumulate the same visual result with fewer rays fired per frame. This is a very good thing.
Yeah.
Basically, that is how NVIDIA has made the ray tracing so much better than everyone else. Is they are able to down clock the amount of rays and assume the in between in a really good way.
Yeah, so you can get ray tracing without taking the performance hit.
Or at least not a big one.
Not as much. Yeah, not as much. Not as noticeable.
Even in Fortnite, like ray tracing turned on is not as good as not ray tracing as far as frames per seconds. Let's see. Ongoing tasks consist of asynchronous creation and additional types of destructible render objects, such as gas cloud chunks, to reduce frame time spikes on the CPU. For Planetech V5, the team focused on enhancing terrain performance through a compute shader-driven pipeline that caches material attributes to reduce redundant computations. There we go. Alongside this, the revamped material scattering system now supports physically based distribution. Yes, that is. I cannot tell you how amazing that's going to be. Not that you're going to recognize it, but when you're looking at like the topology of the terrain, and rocks are collected in crevices and sparse in where the opposite of a crevice is. So on a large lumpy spot, there's fewer rocks, but in crevices, there's a lot more rocks and a lot more vegetation that spawns. This should also help. I believe that this was made mention specifically in a reply to River Tech, and how this kind of tech will help them make a lot more realistic river banks.
Yeah. Well, and like it says, this is how we get really, a dense jungle and forest. This is how we get the Star Citizen version,
allowing for denser biomes as well. There we go.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is how we get Endor in Star Citizen.
Yep. We do we have a jungle? Where's the closest jungle? Because they're gonna probably want to do something more jungle-y.
The planet that has the Osoians, that one's jungle-like or has jungle-like biomes, and then Kellogg.
What is the terrain on Castra other than mountains?
They didn't really talk about that much.
Okay.
Well, there are other cities, below the cloud layer, and the cloud layer isn't permanent; it's just mostly permanent. Or covers a lot frequently, but we don't know in terms of like biomes and stuff. We know a lot about Cascom or Sherman, but not as much about the rest of Cascom.
All right. So interesting things, probably good to talk about at SysCon. I would love to see another like update on where this Planetech V5 and these denser things and stuff are.
Oh yeah, I would be willing to put money on it, especially because it's a very key aspect of the road to 1.0.
And it's flashy.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yeah, it looks cool. Lots of pretty pictures.
Yep. Such as jungles, forests, by eliminating distinctions between small and large, small and large mesh ground cover. Or by eliminating. All right. A new per object climate concept and new terrain attributes were introduced, including geology and soil maps. Why are we gonna need soil maps? Any thoughts on why we're gonna need to know what's in the ground?
Ground-based mining, terrain deformation,
and science.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going for the outpost mining mainly. Corn. I mean, yeah, I guess.
Space Iowa.
Oh god, that's great. Space Iowa. We should have a Space Iowa and a Space Idaho. That needs to be a thing.
Yeah,
where are my
space
potatoes?
Space potatoes. Yep.
Oh man, It all comes back to corn.
Mm-hmm. I bet the Banu love potatoes.
Oh my gosh. Not the Banu trees. Do they eat? Do they
Yeah, they
eat
eat.
substances or do they eat like
They're like goats. They eat everything.
minerals? They eat everything? Oh.
Yep.
Eh. So not really tree-like, just kind of
Yeah.
tree in face.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Planet Tech also spent part of August supporting the Montreal team on the location scatter tool for this. They provided a new terrain query API for large-scale large-scale queries and extended query capabilities, with future tasks aimed at supporting SDF-based queries. I imagine that's for scanning and mapping or something, because
I don't know.
SDF is like what we
But
have
it's
for
a
shield, so it's
location
able
scatter
to.
tool. It's able to read over terrain, and so it's
Why do you need to
probably a
know
new.
the height of the terrain?
It well, not necessarily the height, but to moving. The changes in order to if it's for
So signed
location.
distance field at its core is basically a grid that goes across, or well, not well, a grid that wraps around
A surface.
a mesh, and
Mm-hmm.
then can calculate a distance away from that mesh.
Mm-hmm.
That is what its main focus is. It's calculating distance around a mesh, not around it, but from it around the entire thing. Why would they need to know distance from terrain?
It's a terrain query API for large scale queries but it's for location scatter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Location scatter, does that mean location as in like points of interest locations?
I think so.
And dynamic generation of those?
I think so as well, because I think currently the location scar tool, at least last time I heard about it, um, was used as a um, recommendation
Mm-hmm.
to put around, and then it'd say, "Hey, I think
Yeah.
the thing should be here."
This looks like a good spot. Yeah, based off of the terrain. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
And why sign distance fields? I want to know. Support for the live producing code fixes for the invisible asteroid bug, which I found. That was fun. I wasn't the pilot while we found it, so that was so fun. We both exploded at the same time. I swear I hit the wrong button. It wasn't me. It was an asteroid that we didn't see. And other issues. Following on from last month's report, the VFX team focused on the fire hazard feature work is now focus on the fire hazard. The feature work is now complete, with focus on shifting to bug fixing and design balance. I wonder where it's not committed yet. Particle effect connections for jump tunnels were implemented. The devs are now focusing on polish the VFX and supporting graphic technology. The team also progressed with significant data conversion to add GUIDs, very nice, which will help the VFX artists manage particles more efficiently. Elsewhere, performance improvements are underway, including using multiple threads for particle updates and adjusting VFX regeneration. Registration tests to detect issues earlier. GUIDs, I believe. I think Unreal uses something similar to GUIDs. I think it's like UUID. Yeah, it's UUID. So, hopefully, like the more improvements they make, the more closer to Unreal they make it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if only they could port over Nanite. Squadron 42 side, alongside ongoing stability and performance improvements, Vulcan. We already talked about that. Debugging tools, long term, Westport.
think that's everything.
Async CPUs. Squadron 42's main fire hazard system wrapped with the team focusing on bug fixes and balances. Nearly finished with the data conversion for better particle effective management. It's slightly different worded, but yeah. So, engine team is engine team. Engine team does base stuff that applies to both games. Back to you with a single sentence from the Interactables team.
The Interactables team spent time in August on items for Pyro mission content.
Thank you, Tree.
Back to you for lighting. A slightly longer single sentence.
It is still a single sentence, yes. There's only commas. The lighting team continued to support multiple areas of development, including Pyro space stations, acidic caves, and closed out work for Alpha 324. Back to you for locations, which is more than one sentence.
Cool
Still
images.
only Star Citizen.
Yeah. Locations. Last month, the landing zone team progressed with tasks for Alpha 4.0, including adding new areas and additional polish to Pyro space stations. The locations team pressed forward with ground bases, moving the initial modules through gray box. Ground bases. Like
Okay. New name.
ours? Like
I think that's
player bases?
not ground bases. I think ground bases is more like a military structure or like an archetype of outpost.
Okay. Moving the initial modules through gray box. Improvements were also made to several new location types coming with Pyro. Several new location types. Oh boy.
Well, they outlined a couple being the salvage yard,
Yeah.
trade post. Now they are archetypes or types, not just this one has a trade console, this one doesn't. Or what are they called? Aid shelters, data centers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Back to you for mission design. Oh,
Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Mission design. Oh, I gotta
Part of the
fall.
crew. Part of the ship. Part of the crew.
part of the crew,
Part
part of the
the
ship.
Part of the crew. Part of the ship.
Thank you for the follow, Midgard. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming and hanging out. We are almost done for the evening.
Midgards, that's how you say it. Okay, I could not. I think they dropped into my stream yesterday. Not yesterday.
Aha.
When I was doing the last test, was it yesterday or was it the day before? Don't remember. Oh no, I just scrolled all the way up to the top. And I had no idea how to pronounce that name. Mission design. Mission design spent time in August updating the salvage mission archetype, enabling it to spawn ground panels. Oh. And provide FPS gameplay at scrapyards. Oh yeah, because you can. Yeah. Please make the thing.
ISC.
Yeah. Please make the industrial salvage tool a thing. Like, please.
Two-handed tools are the best.
Yeah, they are. They also continued work for the repair location missions recently shown on the social gameplay of Pyro episode of Inside Star Citizen. The team is targeting 3 main gameplay elements for the initial release. Charge and drain, charging devices that use batteries for operation, replace component, replacing fuses in relays, repair pipe, fixing damaged pipes using RMC. That
Plumber
kind of gameplay was...
We are plumbers.
The last one was shown off in the FPS mapping and UI thing when they had the radiation leak on Orison. That's the system we'll be using. I really like the idea of these repair missions. I don't know why. Yeah. They just, like, I just want to do them.
Yep.
Like it's gonna be I think I'll try and find repair missions at places I'm doing cargo, so I can come bring cargo and repair their crap. Because I just really like the idea of these missions. The team also continued to design resource gathering, another mission type I'm really excited for, including determining which commodity buyers instanted would want extracted from Pyro. They also expanded the mechanic to include FPS resource gathering, which will be the first step towards basic MMO type fetch quests. Elsewhere, a new mission type progressed that the team will discuss in a future update. Ooh. I love all this mission talk. Resource gathering is just such a cool concept. Not only are they specifically looking at making extraction from Pyro to Stanton, but also when you have a outpost, when you have a player base, these are also going to be things you tap into. It's not, you can do more than just like trading it now, have a whole bunch of material and hope somebody buys it at a good rate, but you can also find what people want and produce that thing. So,
narrative for PU. The narrative team spent time last month working with design and branding to further develop the new contested zones and enhance the gameplay that players will experience there. The team also made improvements to the cargo hauling missions and continued work on unannounced mission content that will be coming to Stanton and Pyro. See, unannounced mission content coming to Stanton and Pyro. We are getting a couple features and new missions and a ship. And like some character art stuff for 4.1 in December. Calling it. The narrative design team focused on improving AI behaviors at settlements to give a more natural feel to the NPCs that players will encounter there. They also fleshed out the new social AI testbed. New lore was added to the website with a Whitley's Guide to the Cutlass Red and additional Galactopedia entries. Plus, there was a very special Star Citizen live with the narrative team. I'm hoping I'll be able to make time to get back to doing lore equals gameplay. I'm a couple months behind. And for narrative on the Squadron side, toward the end of the summer, narrative continued work with core gameplay to refine the number of Galactopedia entries and to identify where they will unlock. That's my core gameplay. It is unlocking the lore. Ooh,
like
data pad.
Have the data marker, like, not the data marker, but the mission marker. It's like, I'll get to that later. In the meanwhile, is there any lore over here under this rock?
Oh yeah. That's me playing Star Wars Outlaws as I literally explore every freaking inch of an environment before I leave to make sure I found all the little hidden things. I am for games like Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed, open world type games, anything that like that. I am a completionist 100%, and it's my toxic trait. I have so many hours in Outlaws that I should be so much farther along in the campaign right now than I am.
That's how I was with Starfield. Just like I'm like 50 hours in and I haven't made it back to the lodge. Like people are like, look at my OP ship I made like 25 hours in. Like, what am I doing?
But look at all the fun things that I found.
But people were just like at the end game already. I'm like, I'm 50. I'm like 20 hours ahead of you. Like in time. How am I feel like I'm nowhere near that kind of like power level? But I have three so far runs planned for Squadron when it comes out. The first one is narrative run, and I'm going to be running it as if like trying to role play the Navy character. So I'm not going to be doing all the not like all of the side content. It's going to be focused on your job. Sure, you have a little leeway. You have a little bit off time. Maybe something like catches your eye while you're going. And so you go do whatever side thing, a terminal or something that lights up. But don't look at every screen in the thing, look up every rock, go through every dead end. The second one is the forget your job. You're here to pick the environment kind of like you play normally. And then the third one is more of a experimental, whether that be like a genocide run or a peaceful run or some extra rules in the game.
In Outlaws, there's treasure locations and there's treasures to be found at each location, and so it is an itch for me right now. Gives me a tick because I know that there are treasures that I can't get to because I haven't progressed far enough in the campaign at certain locations. So I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to go back to this location once I get far enough, along and get access to a certain tool to then be able to get access to it. But
I don't know
I hack
how
all the doors. I open all the things. I pick up all the stuff, all the common materials that you use for upgrading your stuff. I have gobs of them because I pick up.
I don't know how
of
dense the environments or how lively the environments are in Outlaw, but in Survivor, they were really good going through the first time. They were very different than each other. They had just enough to kind of make it feel okay, but it's still very much a platformer.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they forced you to return later, they felt so dead. And that kind of an experience really makes me have a distaste for, oh, you'll have to come back later, kind of gotcha puzzles.
See, in these
Even
locations,
in Little Big Planet, like literally my favorite game franchise of all time, Little Big Planet, did it in the third one, which was not by the original people and was done by a company that was much better at making safe games. Shockingly enough, they didn't have a creator with the game either. Not the point. I still didn't like it. I still didn't like them forcing you to have to play through an entire level and not be able to get the full level out of it. Don't like it.
Yep.
Because they're levels. They're not. It's not like an open world thing where stuff is just waiting for you to find it, and you can just kind of run around and miss it. It is a level. It is a finite amount of location.
The good thing is once you find the treasure location that you can't open because you don't have this tool, it does notate it on the map, so you don't have to like remember it in your head. And so at least there's that. But I've got a bunch of these icons on my map, cluttering up my map, saying, "Hey, you have to return here. Hey, you have to return here." Because instead of continuing on to the mission location as I was crossing the map, I saw a thing and I was like, "Well, I have to go see what that is now." A detour, and so I went to all these locations that I probably will be going to for missions later, and maybe not necessarily campaign, the main quest missions, but side quest missions. But I was going to them before I had the side quest, and because like I've gotten good at sneaking around with my loath cat or my klepto cat, I was able to move through and clear these locations. But only like I got 3 out of 4 treasures, not 4 out of 4, because this one's stuck behind a wall that I can't blow up. Whatever. Sorry. Back to Squadron 42. The team also moved back to live production with pickup shooting, which involved re-recording a handful of lines for a supporting character. Narrative also supported the audio department in a Walla session. If you haven't heard this term before, Walla is a low, persistent series of indecipherable conversations that go alongside our scripted scenes and dynamic conversations to make areas feel more populated. The Walla, back to Star Wars Outlaws. The Walla in Star Wars Outlaws is really good because you'll be walking along hearing the Walla and it'll be in Huttese, but then you'll have the closed captioning at the bottom translating it for you.
Oh, nice.
And they don't even have to be, there are conversations that if you stop and listen to them, it'll give you a prompt to like pretend you're not listening and you'll lean up against the bar here, or you'll pretend to look at like this stall here in the market while you gather this information, and then that will give you either like a side quest or a thing on the map, or will give you more info related to a side quest that you'll get later. But
neat.
Even the Walla is actually just conversations, and they translate the Huttese, and what have you, which I think is really cool because it's like it sounds like gibberish, but it's not, because they're actually talking about stuff, but it's not relevant to your any of the missions or finding a downed smuggler ship or a rebel cache of weapons. They have
not
those,
spelled the
but
same
the Walla,
way.
What?
The planet, the moon Walla.
Oh yeah, 1L versus 2.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, work continued on the in-fiction collectibles that the team is developing with outsourced artists. Yep, gotta catch them all. They also continued to regularly play through levels to review the implementation of the latest content to ensure things are triggering correctly and iterate on the overall flow. Back to you for online tech.
Yep, and then you get the last one after that of VFX.
Yep.
Online Technologies Star Citizen. In August, the online services team, it says services and tools team, progressed with features scheduled for Alpha 4.0. Significant progress was made on the update for the mission and marker system. The team Yeah, and the team completed the new player trade system, which will allow players to trade currencies in a server meshed environment. Time was also spent testing and gathering metrics for newly enabled EAC anti-cheat feature in Evocati, and the PTU alongside helping to stabilize the 324 release. Online sources help player relations unblock accounts with lingering login issues. Regarding live tools, the team met with player support and player experience during a visit to Montreal Studios. It was a great opportunity for both teams to sit together and work on the future of Network Operations Center and how it could improve the quality of life for the support teams and its current and upcoming features. Live tools team. Elsewhere in the architecture for the error reporting tool was progressed well.
VFX, the VFX team, and this is for Star Citizen, the VFX team continued their support for jump points and dynamic fire, both of which were shown in recent episodes of Inside Star Citizen. They also completed their work on acidic caves, 2 vehicles, and an unnamed energy weapon that has functionality not seen before in the PU. Interesting. Wonder what that'll end up being. VFX for Squadron. Last month, VFX polished and focused on polishing a selection of key scenes alongside cinematics. They also continue to support the design and art teams with ongoing level work. And that is it.
Yeah, Squadron's happening next year for sure.
Yep. That is it for the combined Star Citizen and Squadron 42 monthly reports for August 2024.
Along with the Roadmap Roundup and SCL about submission with Benoit and some ETF inside information.
Yep. Well, that is it for the evening. It's getting late. I have to hopefully get some sleep before the twins wake me up, ready for their next feeding. Especially because I got like 2 hours of sleep in the last 36.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that shift was rough. It was not a good time, man. And we've been so busy at work. It's like every 24-hour shift I come in and I get worked and I get no sleep. And normally it's like a 50-50
nice
chance.
Quiet days when like you could like just troll Star Citizen stuff for hours.
That was the norm. Like it's been way out of it used to be a 50-50 chance that I would get to sleep through the night and I would have a call or two during the day. With every now and maybe 1 in 5 to 1 in 10 shifts I'd get shut out, like no calls. I'd basically get my chores done, maybe do some work related education, and then I'd like play indie games and read Star Citizen stuff. But the past few weeks it has been horrible. Anyway, that's all we have for tonight.
Like summer events or something?
I don't know, because that's the thing is like summer is usually not the busy season for my team.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So we move on to winter and obviously Thanksgiving injuries and Christmas injuries and
Yep.
Right, that's what you do. You're in something like EMS.
Yeah, I am EMS.
You are EMS. Hi EMS.
Yeah, I'm a critical care flight paramedic. So
got it. Okay.
High acuity calls, both 911 and interfacility hospital. From ER to ICU, ER to ER, ICU to ICU. Sometimes
it was better when it was 12 people.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all we had tonight. Naz, you have any announcements you want to go over before we call it an evening?
Just reiterating my current stream schedule. Where did mouse? If you could like stop making all my windows disappear. My mouse, the middle mouse one's broken, so it's middle mousing every.
Oh.
So I will be streaming Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. EST to 5 p.m. EST, and again 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. EST. All of my afternoon ones are Star Citizen, with Star Citizen news on Friday afternoon and Space News on Monday and Tuesday.
Cool. Yep, and fingers crossed for a tech preview of server meshing next week. If it happens, I've got a really busy week with work, and so I'm really hoping I can participate. But if it happens, we will report back to you about the results and the information we get, so we can continue to follow the progress on server. The final countdown, the end of the long road to static server meshing. But yeah, that's all we have for this evening. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming and hanging out. We covered a lot of information, and this will be up on the YouTubes over the following week. The full VOD will be on my YouTube on Monday, and then the individual bits will be dropping after that. But
and I was on Launch Sequence.
Yeah.
Tomatoes podcast, and that should be posted Monday.
Sweet.
Lots of
cool.
me on Monday, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure to share that in the Discord. We need to raid somebody. There's still a handful of you.
Yes, we remember this time.
We remember this time. Let's see. Any suggestions on who to raid?